Meeting called to order. Please join me in the prayers. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessings on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please join me in the allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilor Scott.
Here.
Councilor Yem.
Here.
Mayor Chow.
Here.
Councilor Drinkwater.
Here.
Councilor Gitchia.
Here.
Councilor Janess.
Here.
Councilor Leahy.
Here.
Councilor Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Noon.
Here.
Councilor Robinson.
Here.
Councilor Rourke.
Here.
That's 11 present.
Yasas, everyone, and welcome to the chamber. Do you have a moment of silence? Any memorials today? Councilor Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Welcome back, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, it is with great sadness that we, the Cambodian American community, announced the passing of His Holiness Vicha Sampanao Chawm Sambo on Saturday, October 1st, 2022, at 7:58 a.m. at the age of 80. We request a moment of silence and darken the chamber for the Holiness. He was a great leader. The spiritual and religious life is something that he knew and had great interest in. One of His Holiness' commitment in life was the promotion of human value, such as compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, contentment, and self-discipline. His Holiness believed that we all want happiness and do not want suffering. Even people who doesn't believe in religion recognize the importance of this value, human value, in making their life happier. I remember one time, that was about 2 years ago, His Holiness told me, and I quote, "This is not volunteers' work, but something that I feel I must pursue because of the hope and trust that the Cambodian people place on me." His Holiness passing left a big hole in the Cambodian American community. On behalf of the Cambodian community and his council, may His Holiness rest in peace.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other councillors? Thank you, Councillor Nguyen, for doing a moment of silence for the venerable of the Glory Buddhist Temple. He's the abbot. He's one of the eldest and most revered religious leader in the city. And even though many Cambodian Americans, we're all born Buddhists, but through our life experience, we seek other faith and so forth through our lifetime. And even we come from a different faith than the venerable. I share a very enduring relationship with him. He's my philosophical mentor, social mentor, spiritual mentor. So not only I myself, but as Councillor Nguyen, Councillor Paul Rottayem, and the entire Asian American community, the entire city, feel it's a big loss to our community. Please dim the light. I'd like to do a moment of silence for him in his honor. Before we start the mayor's business, I'd like to welcome Congresswoman Lori Trahan for coming to visit us in the chamber. She's here to speak on a very important item, which is later down the agenda. And with the permission of the councillor, I'd like a motion to move up item 4.3 of the agenda by Councillor Robinson, second by Councillor Gishia. That is passed. Welcome, Congresswoman. It's such an honor to have you in our chamber.
Thank you, Mayor Chow. I'd first like to start by thanking you, members of the council, for approving that motion, and City Manager Golden for the opportunity to speak to you once again tonight. So first, I would be remiss if I didn't take an opportunity to acknowledge another item on tonight's agenda. I'm glad to see the motion moving forward to recognize the tremendous career of Councillor Rita Mercier by renaming the Lowell Senior Center in her honor. Councillor Mercier has dedicated nearly 3 decades of her life to serving this city as a councillor, as a vice mayor, as the 3rd woman elected mayor in the city's nearly 200-year history. Like anyone who's called Lowell home, over the years, Councillor Mercier has seen this city and this body evolve and do so for the better. However, on a council that has changed many times, Councillor Mercier's commitment to her constituents has endured. In fact, many families will tell you that they are better off today because of her service and her advocacy. So I applaud the council for its consideration of this motion and extend my congratulations to Councillor Mercier on a remarkable career. Okay, councillors, it's always a profound honor to sit here before you and speak about the work we've been doing to deliver for the city of Lowell. Each of you know me well by now. You know my background, you know my family's history here in the city, and you know that this city raised me. It gave me all the opportunities that I needed to be where I am today. It's for that reason that I've dedicated much of my adult life to giving back to Lowell, to opening similar opportunities for future generations of families to succeed. First, as Executive Director of Spindle City Corps, as board member of the Boys and Girls Club and the Greater Lowell Community Foundation, as a Lowell High School varsity volleyball coach, congressional staffer, and now as Lowell's representative in the U.S. House of Representatives. Over the past 3.5 years in Congress, everything I've done has been through the lens of how we can improve the lives of families across this district, across this community. I know many of you agree with me when I say that one of the best ways to do that is by delivering federal resources necessary to boost new and successful programs at the local level. And with the suite of legislation that Congress has taken up and passed since January of last year, that's where I've spent the bulk of my time. We've taken up and passed historic legislation like the American Rescue Plan, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, and the CHIPS and Science Act, most recently the Inflation Reduction Act. Together, these laws represent the largest federal investment in the city of Lowell ever in our history. Each of these bills alone would have been a once-in-a-generation investment. The American Rescue Plan was passed to keep families and small businesses who were bearing the brunt of the COVID-19 pandemic afloat. And we included long overdue state and local funding in that package because we knew that cities like Lowell were diverting funds from critical projects to cover expenses for emergency services. But it didn't stop at the nearly $76 million delivered for the city. It also included $43 million allocated to Lowell Public Schools to reopen safely, target learning losses caused by the pandemic, and revitalize school libraries. ARPA set aside over $5 million to the Lowell Community Health Center, which has been an enormous asset for our community over the years and even more so during the pandemic. We could be here all night if we talked about the federal funding from ARPA that has made its way to Lowell one way or another, or the ways that the council has chosen to invest those funds for critical projects like the $3 million set aside for CSO mitigation along the Merrimack River. But we went further than ARPA, and we passed the bipartisan infrastructure law as well. Everyone who grew up here since the Rourke Bridge was built almost 40 years ago knows firsthand how badly we've needed to upgrade our crumbling roads and bridges. Project after project has been postponed or applied a Band-Aid fix because of how expensive it is to rebuild a bridge, repair a road, or upgrade a sewage system. Cities like ours have largely been forced to go it alone because Washington stopped investing in local infrastructure projects. They passed the buck on to states, who in turn passed it on to communities like Lowell. Councilors, the bipartisan infrastructure law is long overdue course correction. I often say that it was the easiest vote I've ever taken, and if you joined Governor Baker and me, which many of you did earlier this year, when we announced the Rourke Bridge replacement plan, you heard why. Because the $170 million that the bipartisan infrastructure law is delivering to replace the Rourke Bridge is really just the beginning of how this package delivers for Lowell and the communities across the region. There's going to be repairs along 495 from here to Haverhill, resurfacing work on Chelmsford Street in both directions, reconstruction projects on the VFW highway, and intersection upgrades on Route 38 so it's easier to get on the highway. And that doesn't even touch the $1.1 billion in water infrastructure projects or the $2.5 billion in public transit upgrades that's still working its way to the state level. You've heard presidential candidates of both parties talk about infrastructure for years, for decades, about getting this type of bill over the line, and we finally got it done. But once again, we didn't stop there. The CHIPS and Science Act, which we passed in August, is the single largest investment in our nation's manufacturing and research sectors in generations. It's going to revitalize our nation's semiconductor chip sector to reduce the increased costs that we're seeing on everything from cars to home appliances to healthcare devices. And it's going to strengthen research labs and build manufacturing facilities, creating good-paying jobs in the process. Greater Lowell stands to benefit disproportionately from this law because of the tremendous coalition of chip-focused companies that call this area home. This concentration of innovation, not just research and development, but also in manufacturing, means that we can establish a cluster, a region that combines the incredible work being done in the private sector with academics in renowned research institutions like UMass Lowell, a relationship that breeds jobs, invites investment, and strengthens our city. I'm committed to making that vision a reality, but it's going to require all of us to come together across all levels of government and with our partners in the private sector to make the case. And each of you will be critical in that process. As you can see, we have tremendous opportunities ahead of us to build a better Lowell for generations to come, and we have the federal investments finally to do it. But I also want to recognize that with all this opportunity ahead, we have to acknowledge that challenge remains. The challenges that risk our community and our Commonwealth moving forward, but leaving large swaths of working families behind. Estimates from National Grid and Eversource are predicting that home heating and utility bills are going to skyrocket this winter, fueled by increased demand for natural gas and heating oil that is drying up because of Vladimir Putin's losing war in Ukraine. But as all of you know, families here in Lowell aren't focused on the cause of the price hike. What they're focused on is the fact that they can't afford $40 or $50 more each month. My view on this is simple. No parent should ever be forced to choose between keeping their family warm or putting food on their table, period. That requires work at the local, state, and federal level to get folks that help that they're going to need. Last week, Congress passed a government funding package that includes a $1 billion increase to the LIHEAP program. Now we're focused on getting those funds into people's pockets as soon as possible so families aren't missing those payments. We have a lot of work to do, a lot of work ahead of us to solve challenges like this one, challenges with our mental health care, problems with workforce. But we also have to make the most of our opportunities. I firmly believe that working together, as we always do, our city is positioned to do both. I look forward to our continued partnership and to making the city of Lowell an even better place to live, work, and raise a family. I want to thank you again, Mayor Chow, members of the council, City Manager Golden, for the opportunity to address you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman, for all you do for the city of Lowell. Thank you for all the commitment. Keep up the good work, and please bring in more money to the city. Okay, with that, we now will return back to our regular agenda. We'll start with the two mayor's business, 2.1, communications remote Zoom participation. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Yam, second by Councilor Scott. Motion is passed. 2.2, this is one of my favorite yearly event. It's by this group called Hoops for Hope, which is doing amazing things, playing basketball with a purpose. Please come to the podium.
First of all, I want to thank Mayor Chow and the wonderful council here, which has been such a big supporter of Hoops for Hope. Hoops for Hope was inaugurated 14 years ago in order to provide for the indigent in Cambodia.
Mr. Drake, would you please introduce yourself first?
Pardon me?
Please introduce yourself first, state your
I'm
name.
Dr. Milton Drake. I'm a physician at Harvard Vanguard and Lowell General Hospital.
Thank you.
But in any case, what I would say is that initially it was for the Sihanouk Hospital in Phnom Penh, which represented a very indigent population at that point in time in the late 90s, and in which they provided 1.5 million patients free care in the hospital at the Sihanouk. And more recently, we have a hospital in the south of Cambodia called the Sonia Keel Hospital, which has now celebrated this 10th year anniversary. And the purpose of the Hoops for Hope, one of the fundraiser purposes, is to provide funds to develop a laparoscopic surgical program there and also a GI program. And there is no such activity for about a 2.5-hour drive from the southern portion of Cambodia, which is near Kampot. So it's for that reason. We just want to thank you. We've had wonderful support from the mayors, from the council members, from other members in the city, and Lowell General Hospital is a sister hospital relationship with the Sonia Keel Hospital, and leadership has made visits down there so that we can forge that relationship and build those two programs that will make a huge difference. So first of all, I'd like to thank you so much for being here tonight and being part of this situation, and my two friends here will tell you more.
Thank you, Milton, and thank you, everybody, that we could be here tonight. We're so grateful to the city of Lowell. Hoops for Hope Play for Purpose will be on this Friday at UMass Lowell Rec Center. It's our first time at the Rec Center. It's on 322 Aiken Ave. We will have 50 players starting at 8 a.m., start playing. Some of them are going to play 24 hours. Some are going to have decided to play 12. You are welcome to come and join us if you feel like playing, or if you want to be at the press conference. It's at 10 a.m. We welcome all the counselors and everyone to join us. There will also be a fun night, evening of a little bit of dancing on the court, and we'll be having basketball contests. But I think the website is playforapurpose.org. You can make donations there. We're about at 30-something thousand. We're hoping to get to 50,000. Special connection for me with the Hoops for Hope is I love basketball. I've always played basketball. I'm still trying to play. I'm going to try to play 24. Not very likely. But anyway, a special connection for me is when I got to be a part of this, I got to go to Cambodia to see, hey, what am I playing basketball 24 hours for? I kind of wanted to know that. So I went to the Sonia Keel Memorial Hospital. Very impressive, and I really fell in love with this program and helping people, and to see it grow to 14 years is amazing. Special connection we made with the Cambodian basketball team, the national team, Peck Myth, Dominic Dar, and other Cambodians that I've been able to connect with, Rowdy Mom, Soap William, the Sok family, Bopa. I love the Cambodian people, and I love supporting them. Thank you.
And I'll just briefly close out. My name is Phil Osnault. I'm one of the directors of Hoops for Hope. And I do want to thank the Honorable Mayor and the councilmen. You guys have been an incredible support for us. And we do this to raise money for the Sonja Kill and the Boston Teen Police Academy. I want to briefly just explain what we do for the Police Academy. It helps inner city Boston teens with self-confidence, education, trust and authority, and overall growth and character. Participants include both young men and women between the ages of 14 and 18 who generally come from underserved communities like Greater Boston areas such as Mattapan, Dorchester, and Roxbury. Most of these teens live in households where English is a second language, or they come from a single-parent family without a prominent role model in the home. A vast majority of the students are of African American, African, or Hispanic descent. So why we do what we do is for Boston families in the Lowell community. And we are thrilled and fired up to do what we do. And in our 14-year history from our Hoops for Hope event, we've raised over $775,000, and our goal is $1 million. And at our Hoops for Hope event a few years back, Roddy Mum, the only Cambodian in the House of Representatives, presented us with a citation where we were totally honored for that. And so I just want to thank the previous mayors for coming to our dignitary meeting. I want to lastly thank the Honorable Mayor Chow for attending this year. It always inspires us when you come. It inspires the players and inspires people to give more. We plan on doing Hoops for Hope for the foreseeable future. We ask for your support. After playing 24 hours, we sleep better for 2 reasons. One, we're exhausted. But even a bigger reason is that Danny Thomas, founder of St. Jude's Hospital, said to his daughter, there are 2 kinds of people, the givers and the takers. The takers may sometimes eat better, but the givers always sleep better. So again, for anyone who would like to donate, go to playforapurpose.org, click on a player you'd like to support, hit the donation button. I feel like I'm with friends. And thank you so much for all your support over all the years. Thank you.
Thank you, the Hoop for Hopes, for coming to make the presentation. Please sign me up for the 24 hours, along with all the councilors. Any comments? Councilor Robinson?
No, not on this.
No other comment. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Nguyen, second by Councilor Yam. Motion is passed. We go quickly to 3, City Clerk, 3.1. Minutes of Arts and Culture Subcommittee, September 27th. City Council regular meeting, September 27th for acceptance. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Mercier, second by Councilor Leahy. Motion is passed. Before we take the rest of the agenda, does anybody want to take any item out of order? Councilor Robinson?
I'd like to make a motion to take motion 11.3 out of order, as there's some members here present.
Seconded, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, good call, Councilor. Motion by Councilor Robinson, second by Councilor Nguyen. Motion 11.3. Councilor Robinson, Councilor Gishier request City Manager dedicate name the Lowell Senior Center after Councilor Rita Mercier. Who wants to go first? Councilor Robinson and Councilor Gishier? Councilor Gishier?
Thank you, Mayor Chow. I'd like to, before we get started, amend the original motion to read, Councilor Robinson / Councilor Gishier request the city manager dedicate / name the Lowell Senior Center as the Rita Mercier Senior Center, with the condition that no signage, literature, election materials, or websites display her name until after her retirement from the city of Lowell.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Clerk, make a note of the amendment to the motion as stated on the agenda. Okay. Go right ahead, Councilor.
Second.
Second, Councilor Robinson.
The reason why I did that, I had spoken to Councilor Mercier, and you know, we got calls on this motion, as probably everybody in here knows, that, you know, it's a polling location. So that was the reason for the amendment to the motion, and I thank everyone who reached out. The reason that Councilor Robinson and I'll let Councilor Robinson speak for himself, but the reason why I thought that this would be the perfect spot for a naming of somebody who has dedicated her entire life to the seniors. I had a brief discussion with Councilor Mercier where she said her dad once told her that if you wanted the truth, to hear the truth from people, ask a senior citizen. And she's dedicated her life to the senior center. She also goes into some really good discussions about the old senior center, and anyone who has ever been in the Smith Baker would understand that anytime you went in there, we would have union meetings in there, and it would be cold when it was cold outside. There was no heat. The wind would just blow in, and the employees would leave. And Councilor Mercier went in there one day and just said, you know, it's enough is enough. We need a new place for the seniors. She pushed hard. They went to multiple locations, and everything she turned at, they said no, but she wouldn't stop. She pushed so hard that it ended up on Broadway Street, a place that was the house of all the DPW workers. It's always been a family setting, and she won that over. She's fought for buses down there when the seniors didn't have a bus that was adequate to take them to all their field trips or anywhere else. Councilor Mercier was the one who pushed. All of us know that most of the time we go down there's an event. This is Councilor Mercier's home. She goes down there to see people. And if you ever walked in the senior center with Councilor Mercier, you would feel like you're walking in with the presence of the highest power in this city by far. Everybody knows her name. Everybody yells out, Rita, Rita, Rita. She also started the Friends of the Counseling and Aging. She didn't try to reach back into the pockets of the taxpayers and say, we need utensils or we need something else down there. Councilor Mercier said, we're going to ask for donations from people who are willing to give, and we'll buy it ourselves. She has chaired that committee. And when you just listen to everything she says about that senior center, we all know that that is the perfect place for her. I'm honored that Councilor Robinson and I were able to put this motion together, and I ask the other 9 councilors to support this unanimously. She's dedicated her life to public service. She's been at everything, every ribbon cutting, every monument. In the city, there's over, and I read this in the newspaper, so I'll give them credit for this, in Dick Howe. I read that there were over 700 monuments in the city of Lowell, and under 20 have been named for women. If there is ever a person who deserves an honor to have something named after them, under 3%, it's Rita Mercier. So I'm honored to be able to sit here with her family and the rest of you on this council and say thank you. And this is in no way, shape, or form a retirement gift, because I hope the name doesn't go up on that building for a long time, but I want to make sure that it is named after her. And the only thing that it's missing is that one monument, and that would be the best retirement present ever. And I want to thank all of you for always being there, and this is what this city was built on. Thank you.
Councilor Robertson?
Thank you. I mean, a lot of times we go and dedicate or honor something or somebody's work after it's too late. This is one of the rare instances and opportunities I think we have to show someone that their work is appreciated and others have noticed. I saw it firsthand as an employee of the City of Lowell. I represented employees that worked in the senior center. And the one thing they would always say to me is, I know Rita Mercier. It's like the president comes to town when Rita walks in the senior center. Who else? This 11 that's sitting before you. I've never had breakfast with the senior citizens down there. I've never been on that bus to a field trip down there. I've never eaten dinner down there with that group. I've never attended bingo. These are things Rita does, not because there's an ulterior motive, but because she enjoys it, and they enjoy her. And so, I mean, I've heard rumblings from people saying, you know, because it's a current sit-in counselor. Well, this isn't something that happens all the time. 27 years of being reelected, going through cycle after cycle, and regardless of any of that, the passion for the seniors still remains. And so I think it's only fitting. I don't think you'll see another instance like this come before your desk, and I'm just glad that I could be a part of this. And I'd like to thank Councilor Mercia for her dedication to our senior citizens of the city of Lowell. I mean, just think, what shape do you think that senior center would be in without the assistance and the partnership of Councilor Mercia? Thank you.
Councilor Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and also thank you to Councilors Getchia and Robinson for filing the motion. Quite simply, the Senior Center on Broadway Street is the house that Rita built. When you look at just the motions, from tax abatements for seniors, for the improvements at the Smith Baker Center years ago, and also the push that Rita made to get the new senior center on Broadway completed. Again, quite simply, it does not exist without her. I don't realize that Councilor Getchia spoke earlier about all the flag raisings and the dedications and the constant constituent services that Rita takes care of through no other reason than she feels like it's her job when she represents the city of Lowell and has done so for 27 years. I was talking to Councilor Scott last week before the meeting, about the district representation and so forth. And then when you ask people in your district who your city councilor is, 10 times out of 10, the answer is Rita Mercia. So, just a small example of the energy and the time that she puts into it. It's a lesson for all city councilors that are going to come after her, that serve with her, to follow. So it'll be my pleasure to support this motion this evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was actually going to just tell the same story when I was out door knocking. I was explaining to people how the new election system worked with the district representation, and the number one question asked over and over again was, will I still be able to vote for Rita? And she deserves this honor. 27 years, it's incredible. No one's done more for the seniors in this city, so I'm proud to support this. Thank you.
Councilor Yam?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank Councilor Getchia and Robertson for filing this motion. And my family and I adopted Rita as our mother because we have seen her when we first came. During the election, we saw her, and we don't know her name at the time. But as time goes, we saw that she have dedicated her life to support the senior, not just the senior, but the people of Lowell. So on behalf of my family and I, my wife particularly, we congratulate Rita Mercia and thank you for your service.
Councilor Nguyen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to join all my colleagues, particularly thank you, Councilor Robinson and Councilor Getchia, for put forth the motion. It's the right things to do for someone who dedicated almost 3 decades of their life in public service. Particularly, she's the leader. She's a strong advocate for all the elder, the senior. We're talking about we are the future, but they paved the way for us. So I want to join all my colleagues in supporting these motions. Thank you.
Any other comment? Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for the motion. It's well-deserved. I've got the pleasure of sitting next to Rita all these years at different times, and it's been an honor, and it's well-deserved, and congratulations. And if I had a tissue, I'd give you one.
Councilor Janess?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd also like to extend my thanks to my colleagues for putting this motion forward. I think it's I think it's appropriate. I think, as other people have said, this is the building Rita built. This is her home, and putting her name on it makes all the sense in the world. So I'm glad that I get to be a part of doing that. Rita's had a chair in this chamber for longer than I've lived in Lowell, and she's been a constant on this council since I moved to Lowell, and before that. So I think taking this step is appropriate, and I'm happy to see this. So congratulations to you and your family, Councilor Mercier, and thank you for everything you've done for the city.
Any other comments? Here, none. I just want to make a quick comment from up here, if there's no objection. I kind of didn't want the amendment to change, because now we have to wait another 20 years before to see the names go up. So, which is for the better to have Rita as long as we can to serve the community. This motion jumped out from the pages of the agenda because no one deserves it more than Councilor Mercier, as the makers of this motion had pointed out already. Secondly, as all the councilors said, it is the right thing to do. I only wish I was one of the makers of the motion. I'm from an old world culture that rewards you for taking care of the seniors and the elders. When you care for others with sincerity and genuine love over years and decades, people notice. In this case, we are recognizing Councilor Mercier's commitment to service by naming a building after her. It is a way for the present community and the future generations to honor those who serve the elder members of our families and city. Thank you, Councilor. If no other comments, Councilor Robinson?
I'd like to take a roll call.
Absolutely. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Yem.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
Councilor Drinkwater.
Yes.
Councilor Getchia.
Yes.
Councilor Janess.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Mercier. Will abstain.
Yep.
Councilor Noon.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
10 yeas.
down. Thank you so much. It's very, very hard to hear all this when I'm embarrassed by it. I remember some years ago when Armin Mercier had the Lowell Housing Authority Center named after him, and someone said to me, "Gee whiz, he gets something named after him. Too bad you didn't." And I said, "Well, I absolutely did. Didn't you know that St. Rita's Church was named after me?" So anyway, I felt like the saint today. Thank you so much. I don't even know I can't even thank you enough. I know my family is very, very proud. We're not in this to get accolades or, something named after us. Who would ever have thought that? I don't even know what to say. I'm just so grateful to my colleagues, and I never realized it, but the senior center is a place where they have early voting, and I'm still an elected official, and my name should not be on that until I'm retired. But thank you that I'm still alive, because I'm enjoying that anyway. Imagine if I died, I would have never really known about it. So to my colleagues, I can't thank you enough. I'm just so very, very grateful, and it was an honor all these years. Gee, imagine when I retire, I'll be a basket case. But I'm just so grateful. You can't even imagine how grateful I am. I bet my husband would be so proud. My mother would be too. I said to my mother, Ma, I want to take you to the senior center. She said, what are you talking about? I'm not old. I said, I know you're 70 years old, but Ma, you should try to go there. And so she went with me and she enjoyed it. So, and Eric was very right when he said, many years ago, I had a wonderful father. He would be so proud. Because he said to me, let me give you some advice. If you ever want to know anything in this world, go see a senior citizen. They've been there and back. They felt the pain. They made the mistakes. They'll guide you, and you won't make those same mistakes that they did. And the first thing I did when I put on my shirt and my hat that says Vote for Rita, I went to the senior center to ask for their help and their advice, and they never, ever steered me wrong. Same with the Southeast Asian people. I'll never forget what they did for me, too. I didn't know where to put my signs, and they had businesses along Broadway and Middlesex Street, and I went into every single Southeast Asian place, and I asked, can I put this sign in your window? And they said yes. I'll never, ever forget how wonderful they were to me. They took a chance, and they let me do that. So I'm very grateful to so many people in this city that have been so nice. Thank you so much. I'm embarrassed by it all. I'm embarrassed, but thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you to my colleagues.
Since we're on the path of taking motions or items out of order, any other line item you want to take out of order? Councilor Robinson?
Yes, can I please go with motion, it's the 11.6, I believe.
Councilor Robinson, motion to take item 11.6 out of order, second by Councilor Drinkwater. Motion 11.6, Councilor Rourke requests City Council vote to compensate the Gray Lowell Technical High School Committee Lowell members a stipend of $5,000 annually to be allocated by their annual budget. Second by Councilor Yam. This is Richard Speaker.
Mayor Chow, beforehand, could I abstain? Could I
Councilor
abstain
Kisher?
from the discussion, please?
Absolutely. Noted. Clerk.
Yes. Fred Bahu.
Fred Bahu, here I am. Thank you. Thank you to the mayor, city manager, and the councilors for allowing me to speak as a chairman of Greater Lowell Technical High School. I also want to congratulate Rita. I had the benefit of speaking to her yesterday on her birthday. And not only did you have, sounds like a great birthday, but realistically, you get the best honor of the senior center in your name. So congratulations on that. But anyway, I've been on the school committee for 12 years now. And, you know, it's sort of been something that we sort of go back and forth with about actually being stipended for the work that we do. And people say, Fred, you do a lot of work. School committee members are always there, and they work hard for our students as well as for our superintendent. After a number of years, I guess I made a motion on August 25th to have us receive a stipend in the amount of $5,000 for the work that we do. It did not come easy, but it's something that I do humbly ask for you. I will share a few things with you. Greater Lowell Tech is the largest vocational school in the state of Massachusetts, actually the east of the Mississippi. We have 2,372 students. We have a $53 million budget, and we have been visited by the governors many times for all the outstanding work that we do. We have many responsibilities, as all of you do, and I'm sure you know most of them, which are annual budgets, meetings, subcommittee meetings, executive sessions, Contract negotiations, we have 7 different unions. That's all time, as well as building renovations. We just finished a $60 million one about 6 years ago in 2007. And we're currently embarking on a new one for about $5 million so that we can have more room for our students. Because we all know vocational applications are climbing through the roof right now across the state. So we're trying to make more room at our school for more students. I'd like to talk about some of the things we do. I think you all know what we do, so I'm not going to get too far into that. But currently, and really what brought this motion, on the forefront, was we have 5 open seats on the board. And there were only 2 people that filled out their nomination papers and filled them in. So basically, come November 8, when it's time to vote, we're hoping that we can get some school committee people that want to work on behalf of what I think is, a primary education that Massachusetts can offer. So I just humbly ask all of you to take a vote and offer stipends so that we can get back on get back in a way where we can try to find some members that actually want to serve, because they can. It's very difficult when you're trying to ask people to run for a seat and they're like, well, really, Fred, it's a thankless job. So if you could kindly take that vote, I would be grateful. And if you have any questions about our school, I'm right here. I would love to answer them.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Rook wants to go first. Councilor Rook.
Thanks, Councilor Robinson. Quickly, to all the points that Fred Baugh, who chairs the committee, has stated, and he put it so well. I'll take a little different avenue. I know our Lowell representatives, and I know how much time that they give not only to the school, but also in the community. Fred with in the Highlands, all the youth athletics that he supports over the time. And I'll give a quick example of Lee Gitcher, who's here tonight. Tomorrow night he's sponsoring a fundraiser. Thursday night he's sponsoring a fundraiser for Lowell Junior High football, right? And in that league charges kids zero money to play and learn the sport of football, and everything from equipment to helmets to cleats, bus trips and things like that. Lee has given over the past decade his time and more importantly for us, his money to the program. A $5,000 stipend I think is a small amount to offer from the city of Lowell to our representatives. I hope that once this passes here in front of our council, that Drake, Tingsboro, and Dunstable follow suit, because it's well earned and it's well deserved. The performance of the vocational school has been exemplary over the past probably 2 decades now, and a lot of that has to do with the representation of the vocational board, and especially that of our Lowell representatives, not only currently but going back over the years. So I would ask my colleagues to support this and wish them the best of luck in other communities. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. I just had a question, how this works. As far as 4 different communities, I think the ask of $5,000 for a stipend is minimal for the work that gets done out there, and how many students from Lowell benefit from the opportunity. So I'm fully supportive of that ask, but I was just curious as to how it works with the other communities involved.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Manager, is that something, or Mr. Bahu can answer?
Sure. If you don't mind repeating the question, it sounds like, how would it work with the other communities? Each community, this would come out of the Greater Lowell Tech budget, just to inform the body, but each community will vote what they think is a fair stipend for their sending school committee members. So each community can come out with their own amount. Lowell, if they would choose, could vote for $50,000 for us right now. And Drake could go ahead and choose $2,000. So every community will have their own recommended amount, and that would be the amount that sticks to the charter that we have. And I have to come before this board because it's of the charter. The charter says that 3 of the 4 communities need to go ahead and vote on it in order to have this be in our charter. So, does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Good.
Councilor Musia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With respect to this motion concerning the stipend, I do not have a problem with offering a small financial amount of money to those who are willing to give of their time to oversee a school the size of Greater Lowell Voc. I feel that their time is valuable and that they are not in it for the money, so I will be supporting this motion. After everyone has a chance to speak on this motion, and since we are on this scholastic issue, I would like to comment a little bit further after everyone is done weighing in on this stipend subject to discuss my concerns as it relates to programs at the Voc and Lowell High School. So if there's no objection, I would suspend the rules, just since we're right on this Voc, and I have a comment.
Sure, I can come back to you. Does anybody else have comments relevant to this motion? Councilor Yan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 boys in the Lowell Voc, and it's the best school, the program that provided for the student. And it is a hidden gem to me that the school provide a really good education, vocational education. My 2 boys loves it, and the oldest one is a senior, and he's do a co-op program. 1 week he go to school, the other he went to the place that he was working at. So by the time he graduate, he will have a job ready for him, offered to him. And not a whole lot of people are aware of the gem in their backyard. The school has really good building and run really well, and I understand that the school will spend the extra money to expand some more building to provide better education for the students. So $5,000, I will strongly support that motion. Thank you.
Any other comments relevant to the stipend motion? Hearing none, Councilor Mercier, do you want to bring up a motion by Councilor Mercier to bring up a relevant issue in relation to programming discussion, second by Councilor Janess.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to tell you what's on my mind with respect to the Voc and Lowell High School. I love the Voc. My children went there and graduated from there. But here's what's bothering me. Not everyone is scholastically inclined. Not everyone goes to college. Some people work well with their hands and prefer a trade. Some people have a desire to be in business. Some people love to cook. And some want to work in security. Here are the facts that bother me. We have 600 seats at the Voc. There are upward of 1,200 applicants to get into the Voc. These applications are looked at. Not everybody can go in. 600, or 1/2 of the kids, will not get into the Voc. Lowell High School does not offer programs for people who lost out from being seated at the Voc to learn a trade such as security, dental hygiene, or fashion technology. I know that Chapter 70 funding pays for traditional academic programs and won't pay for some that are not accepted programs, but Chapter 74 funding will pay for probably around 21 trade programs that are acceptable. For example, automotive programs such as a student that wants to learn how to fix weed whackers, lawnmowers, chainsaws, small engine repair so that they can get a job locally with one of the businesses in Lowell. What happens to those 600 students who want to learn a trade but can't? Do they get lost in the shuffle at Lowell High School? Why are we not going after the Chapter 74 money to build programs so that people don't get lost? We have $343 million school, and we can't even set a section aside for students who couldn't get a trade at the Voc, and no programs are offered at Lowell High School to help them. And I feel this is very, very sad. So could somebody explore this? Maybe it could happen. We don't know unless we try, and I bring this up. These are just my thoughts that I'm thinking out loud. I just would like to ask if maybe I'm wrong with what I'm saying. I'd like to hear from Freddie Bajo, to hear if he has any comment on what I just said. Thank you.
Rita, I think you hit the nail on the head. We have approximately 1,200 applications coming into our school annually, and we only have 600 seats available. Therefore, 600 students are getting denial letters. Some of them are able to go to Neshoba Tech. Neshoba does offer school choice, but not many do. And as far as geographical concerns, that is a real issue. We offer 23 programs at Greater Lowell Tech, and 44 are offered from the state. So could Lowell High School use some of the space that they have in their new building to begin vocational programs? And you mentioned small engine repair, which is a Chapter 74 funded program. Yes. Or dental hygiene, or as you said, fashion tech, or horticulture. And there are still as many as 16 more that could be offered to students. And we offer an after-dark program, which students that, when they finish school at 2 o'clock at the end of the day at Lowell High School, they can come over to our school and learn plumbing, as well as a couple of other programs that we have been working with Lowell High School. But I don't know that a lot of kids jump onto that, because sometimes they want to get out of school at 2 o'clock and just go home. But I really believe that if you did offer some type of vocational programming at Lowell High School, it could definitely work for you. It is offered at Gloucester High School. It is offered at Peabody High School. So they do have vocational programs. They cannot, again, have a vocational program that is offered by a regional school district like ours, because we sort of have that program and it covers the areas that we reside in. But if it's one of the other 21 programs that Lowell looks at maybe establishing through the state, it can very well be done. And I know many years ago when I was at Lowell High School, they used to have the band downstairs. Well, my guess is you could have vocational programming, in the basement, and realistically begin to, sometimes students don't want to attend because they can't work with their hands, and they don't feel like their comprehensive education is exactly what is good for them, and their parents sometimes agree. So I think it would be a real benefit for the city to explore that avenue. And we would love to help and work with you, I'm sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm all set.
Okay, I just think this is a great idea that Councilor Mercy is bringing forward. I don't know if we could refer to the Education Subcommittee, Partnership Subcommittee, to have a further discussion about it.
Sure, that'd be great. Yes, thank you. Good idea.
A motion by Councilor Scott to refer the motion to the Education Subcommittee, second by Councilor Mercier. On favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. We now, no other comments. We now return back to the original motion.
Mr. Mayor, may I move the resolution 8.1?
We didn't.
So we're going to do, there's no more comment on this one particular, so.
Mr. Mayor, roll call.
Roll call, yes, absolutely. Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Yem.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
Councilor Drinkwater.
Yes.
Councilor Getchia. Councilor Janess.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Mercier.
Yes.
Councilor Noon.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
And yes.
Wonderful. Councilor Yam, did you want to move an item out of order?
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Resolution 8.1, declaring Hispanic Heritage Month. We have registered speaker here too, Mr. Mayor.
8.1.
Yes, sir.
Give me a second. Motion by Councillor Yam on 8, which is the resolution to move 8.1 out of order, second by Councillor Robinson. 8.1 is resolution, Hispanic Heritage Month, waive full reading, second reading by title. The city floor and the city council resolution. The city council of the city floor wishes to go on records to declare September 15th through October 15th to be Hispanic Heritage Month in the city of Lowell. Motion to adopt by Councillor Yam, second by Councillor Robinson. Any discussion, any comments?
There are registered speakers, Mr. Mayor. Diego Leonardo.
Good evening. Can I go last and at the other person to go ahead of me? Thank you.
Maria Abar.
Good evening. My name is Maria Abar, and I am a resident of Lowell and the Director of Operations of the Latinx Community Center for Empowerment, an organization that seeks to empower the Latino and Latinx community through education. Tonight, I want to thank you for the resolution to declare September 15th through October 15th to be Hispanic Heritage Month in the city of Lowell. As Latina and Hispanic, I believe this is important because it is a step forward towards bringing visibility to a community that has been present in the city since the 1950s, a community that despite the adversity that brings relocating to a new country, learning a new language, and finding community, strives to move forward together and keeps giving and contributing to Lowell and the United States politically, economically, and culturally. It is my hope that through this resolution, the city of Lowell not only recognizes Hispanics and Latinos and Latinx as an intricate part of the fabric that makes up this city and nation, but also continues to work together with us in our struggle towards more inclusive and equitable Lowell. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Diego Leonardo. I'm the Executive Director of Latinx Community Center for Empowerment, but today I'm here as a community member. It's really fun to see that it's finally a place that we can celebrate different cultures, especially growing up as a Guatemalan American, coming to the United States and learning that the independence days of Guatemala and all the other countries of Central America are the intricate notion of making this Hispanic Heritage Month. Signing a bill in 1968 that created the Hispanic Heritage Week, it really commemorates all the parts of this country that are being created by those immigrants that come here. Lowell is not really aware of how diverse the Latinx community is until we start diving into the portion. There are 33 different countries in Latin America that are represented in the city of Lowell. We're really unique in that end because we have great representation coming from countries of Colombia, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and Brazil, to mention many others. It is really exciting to have this resolution. And last, I would like to extend an invitation to the first Latinx and Hispanic Festival in the city of Lowell, which will be held Saturday, October 15th from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the North Common Park. As the saying says, it takes a village to raise a child. Our festival has been the child that is raised by all this village. So I would like to ask you to join me on a round of applause to all these people that have been working on the festival and give their appreciation that we can make this happen. We will have music and traditional dances that represent our rich history and tradition, and of course, the diversity of Latin America. Thank you, Councilor Noon. Thank you, City Manager and the Office of the City Manager Golden. We really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to have you there. Have a good night.
Any comments from the councilors? Hearing none, need a motion to adopt by Councillor Nguyen, second by Councillor Jines. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Yum.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
Councilor Drinkwater.
Yes.
Councilor Getchia.
Yes.
Councilor Jines.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Noon.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
That's 11 yeas.
No other items need to be taken out of order. We shall go back to the order of the agenda. Start with 4 communications from City Manager, the motion responses. We start with A, motion response. Monkey Parks, Councillor Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I may, Mr. Mayor, invite Directors Lisa Golden to the podium. Thank you, Mr. Managers, Director Golden, for the report. Just a quick question. I know you have it written report. If you could tell the people at home the step will be taken in case of a breakdown, a breakout. Could you give a brief, remark as to what step we have in place in case of, monkeypox breakout?
In Lowell, yep.
Yes.
Yep,
please.
through the mayor, city manager, and the council. So the public health nurses in the city of Lowell have been on top of monkeypox through the CDC and through the DPH. So we've been on all of the calls. So we know what's going on at all points in time. So we also have contact tracers in the city. So there's a system that we use called Maven. So anytime there's any cases in the city of Lowell, we're alerted by Maven for any cases that are in the city of Lowell. So we have people available to do any contact tracing in any cases. Even on the weekends, we get an email if there are any cases. So it's similar to what happened with COVID. So we already know because of what happened with COVID, how we're alerted and how we can do contact tracing. So we're just on top of it already. And we've been in contact with the state and they're already on top of it and doing contact tracing, and we already have all the protocols in place.
Thank you. Given the limited number of monkeypox in Lowell and the step that you described, we shouldn't have to worry too much about.
No,
the
this
breakout.
isn't like COVID. So this isn't an airborne illness. This is a contact illness. So you have to have direct contact with someone. So this is very limited. This is not an airborne illness. Nope.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Councillor Musia.
I don't know when this woman is coming up, but could Lisa Golden introduce the woman that...
The manager can do that. Oh.
Oh, are you
You
going
want me to?
Oh, all right. Thank you.
I'll let the manager do it.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the council. Mara Fitzpatrick. I want to introduce everybody to Mara Fitzpatrick, right over here. And she is our new Director of Homelessness. So, Mara, if you'd like to say hello to the council and give a little bit about where you've been and what you've been doing, and then I'm sure they'd love to hear it. So.
Okay, I'd be happy to. Good evening, Mayor, City Manager, council members. Not going to go on and on. I'm very happy to be here. I am a native of Lowell. My parents still live in Lowell. My brother owns a restaurant in Lowell. And I like a challenge. So as the Director of Homelessness Initiatives here in Lowell, that is a huge challenge. I intend to deliver multifaceted solutions to a multifaceted problem. I went out today with Andreas and we toured a little bit around the city, and just the tip of the iceberg. So in the past, I have worked as the executive director of a residential homeless program for homeless pregnant women. I've also spent a few years working with the population affected by substance abuse. So I have those two things in my background. And, you know, I'm just grateful for the opportunity. And if you need to get in touch with me immediately, you can contact Lisa until I have everything set up. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fitzpatrick. Appreciate that. Welcome. Just for edification for the council, we will continue our weekly meetings on this issue that has been hitting our city relatively hard. And tomorrow at 2 o'clock, we'll be doing our regular weekly meeting to have these discussions, and Ms. Fitzpatrick will be there for the first time. So we're very excited to have her here. Thank you.
Councilor Nui, all set? Any other comments? Okay. The next one is motion response on fleet status. I couldn't find who was the councilor who put this motion up. Was that Councilor Robinson or Councilor Leahy on the fleet status? Any comment?
No, thank you for the report, and we got further reports on what we're doing with the fire department, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gishia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Manager Golding, the report's excellent. It outlines at least somewhat of a replacement plan. But before ARPA, we look at the ARPA outline that you provided. You look at the fire department's fleet, and you quickly see 52% of the fleet is out of its useful life. That's 22 out of 43 vehicles. And I thank you and your administration for looking at this and making sure that we start to address it. With the ARPA piece that we see that's going to come in a presentation, we see that 10 vehicles will be replaced, which will bring it down still to 12 vehicles outside of the useful life, or 28% of the fleet. The issue comes down to poor planning for years here. When we look at the police department, we see that out of the outline that they gave us, only 7% of the vehicles are outside of their useful life. At the same time, without ARPA money, 52% of the fire fleet is, in the other percentage is extremely close. So we're not really, we're starting to address it, but we're not pushing much off. We're saving the taxpayers $10 million because we're just transferring over the ARPA funding to cover costs that we kicked down the road for many, many years. And in my opinion, it caused company closings because of poor management. I don't know, many of you have been on this council, and I don't know that you've ever seen or denied equipment from the fire department ever to be purchased. I don't ever recall that, and I've watched council meetings for a long time. Just because $10 million is going to be spent, I don't think anybody should try to think that this is the solution, because it's not. There's a major problem in management. We're not managing our fleet at all. We're waiting till it falls apart, and thank goodness that ARPA money rained down on us and we were able to put this $10 million down there. There's a serious problem in the way we look at equipment, in the way we manage capital. When you read this capital outline, it's a good start, but it's not really anything that's solid. I would hope going into FY24 that we start to address the other 12 vehicles that are there, because that would take 12 years if you bought one a year. And then the new ones that you're purchasing today will be already outside of their useful life, some of them, because it says 12 years is useful life for some, and others are 15 years, depending on the type of equipment. There's a serious need for people to run departments efficiently. When you look at the police department, you see 7% of their vehicles are outside, which out of 250 is a small, small number. It's sad that we sit here and we get a report like this and all of us don't read through it. Look at your 5-year plan that was put out. When you look at this plan, you see hardly any investment in it. And most of the investment that was put in this 5-year plan, prior to knowing any ARPA money was here and was going to come down and pay for these things, prior to that, there's no investment in any of the infrastructure equipment. And it's just, it's tough to watch, and I just hope with the new management team, and I hope the fire chief's listening, because as it comes down to it, We need to plan better. In next year, in FY '24, I would suggest at least 2 pieces of equipment, because for 6 years, you're going to need 2 pieces of equipment that are going to offset just to get you to a number where you can even start to implement the jargon that was written in this report. Because if you go by this report, by the time you get to the new pieces of equipment you have, they're all going to be obsolete by 20 years. So we have to start moving up fire equipment. And I thank you for the report. I thank you for your investment of the ARPA funds into it. And you know my stance on that all along, is when we started looking at these pieces of equipment that we had to get better at it. And that's not even looking at the DPW equipment that is well out of its range. So I thank you for the report. I just want to stress that capital planning will save us a lot more in the end, and we won't need to go to the federal government and wish and pray that ARPA money is going to rain on us. Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the council. Council, you are correct. If it was not for ARPA, well, you're correct on many fronts, actually. Throughout our capital plan, we have already started looking at our capital plan for next year, as well as the opportunity to look at the UMass Collins Center to try to revamp our whole capital plan. It is going to require us to look at potentially borrowing more money, especially if we're going to be looking to 1 to 2 new vehicles from the fire department as a whole, as well as other pieces of equipment that are extremely important to everyday operation of the city. So looking at the capital plan for the future, that is absolutely on our list of things that needs to be done. I do agree with your assessment that we're looking at minimum 1 to 2 fire vehicles, considering their large expense, and that's something that we will be looking at, not just talking about it, but actually completing it for the capital plan for next year's capital plan. So,
I'll hold you
Councilor
to
Yam,
it.
and then Councilor Rook. Councilor Yam?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I want to thank Chief Sharon for the great report. I read the report, and I was brokenhearted looking at the report, thinking that if I'm a firefighter, spending my time fixing the trucks, also the firefighter risk their life to by having these outdated equipment. So I'm hoping that that the city down the future part of the capital planning set aside on a regular basis to set aside money to take care of that the fire equipment down the road. In every household, in our household, we set aside money for emergencies. Like if the heat breaks down, or the hot water tank goes, or the roof leaks. So we have, and I think the city should be in a position to do the same thing. So I'm hoping, and I'm happy to see that the ARPA money set aside to replace the old trucks, so that we'll keep our firefighters safe, and also keep the city of Lowell and the residents safe by having the up-to-date equipment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Mr. Manager.
Councilor Rook?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just say that I'm very happy that this administration is looking forward to the future instead of dwelling on the past. Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll go to the next line item. C, motion response. Aiken Street Bridge Maintenance. Councilor Gishia.
Thank you, Mayor Chow. I want to first thank the city engineer Chang for the report, but, again, I guess I'm going to dwell on the past a little bit here. In 1998, we knew the deck had a major problem. The epoxy urethane wearing course was not appropriate, and it was wearing. We didn't do much about it. We tried multiple attempts to repair the wearing course, but nothing worked. So you start to go look at the Aiken Street Bridge, and according to the report, we knew there was an issue on the wear surface and didn't come up with any real solutions. We had an immediate need, but we didn't find it. This caused the bridge deck to wear faster and causing poor drivability on the bridge. We can't continue to allow assets to deteriorate because of lack of maintenance. And when you go to that bridge, it's a major thoroughfare through our city that we need. It's not a want. We have emergency vehicles that go across it. You're already watching the skid pad. It's worn down to nothing. When the plows hit it this winter, good luck, it's taking off more. And then it's getting into where, it was filled for the, where the holes used to go through it, the decking. This bridge, like all bridges, is a major function to our public safety in daily traffic flows. We're hoping that we can come up with a solution very rapidly because that deck is deteriorating. No matter what anybody thinks, we need to come up with a solution right away. Drive across it, it's like having potholes all over a street, and you can see the old metal bridge that was filled. The skid plate not only protects people in their driving habits, but also has a protection to the decking itself. So I know I had this discussion with you, Mr. Manager, and I just think that we have to turn it up to try to figure out solutions. And I know it's between the state and us and who's actually responsible for the maintenance piece, but whoever is, if that bridge gets shut down, we're talking about the Rook Bridge going down for the next till 2030. And if that bridge goes down, we got major problems. And you see some of the numbers the evaluation numbers from the bridge engineers. So I just think we have to step on something real fast and come up with a solution. Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the council. Council, once again, that is a correct assessment. I did speak with Mass DOT. I want to say, before I make my next comment, I want to say that, especially with the Central Street Bridge, Mass DOT has been extremely helpful. I would say extremely helpful in the sense of helping us solve the problem down there financially. I did look for additional help over at the Aiken Street Bridge. That is to be determined. We're still trying to make those additional calls to find out if that can happen. But once again, this is a maintenance account that does not exist currently right now within the city. It is something that we will be looking for in our new fiscal year, which most people are saying, wow, we're already thinking about our next fiscal year when it comes to this type of stuff and this type of creation for accounts, because it is true this stuff has not happened in the past, but that does not mean we're not going to stop to rely on some of our Mass DOT partners, which I have to say once again have been phenomenal to us in this city. They are dynamite. They come anytime, and typically they're always coming with the 50% of the cost. So it's hard for me to knock Mass DOT, and I probably wouldn't. But we do need a maintenance plan, not just on that bridge, but on others, as well as creating an account. And I will be presenting an account, a created account, for our next budget cycle.
Councilor Yam?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While we're on the bridge, what's the story on the Rook Bridge? I heard Congresswoman Trahan talking a little bit about the Rook Bridge and potential funding from federal government. So just wanted to know where we are on the Rook Bridge. Do we know anything? So I'm sorry. Thank you.
Mr. Manager? Yeah, through Mr. Manager to the engineer.
Good evening. In terms of Rock Bridge, currently they're still in the conceptual stage. Last year they have to present 3 different type of bridge in terms of locations. So currently MassDOT is still in process of deciding which options they are going.
Is there a deadline when the design will be presented or vote on, accepted? How does it work?
They have, last year, they have have a public hearing, presented 3 different options to the public at the times. And then, unfortunately, it got put on hold for a little while because they are leaning on one particular options. I can reach out to MassDOT again to see are they going to have additional public input sections, and I can report back.
I think it is important that we keep MassDOT. I do not want to see this project put, off the shelf again because it's been so long already. So if you can do whatever you can to keep the issue on the front burner. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Mr. Manager.
Councilor Rook?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, being part of the Northern Middlesex Council of Governments, option 3 has been the selected option. I know it came before the council last year, and then the funding that came from Governor Baker and from Congressman Trahan was based on option 3. So I don't know if we've taken a step back, but all signs and in funding and so forth has been towards option 3 of the Rock Bridge project.
Councilor Nguyen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I filed a motion on that, I believe, last meeting. So we know that the funding is going to come from the federal government's $107 million, and we know that the timetables as well. So the request, I think the managers and his team working on with the MassDOT, because it's MassDOT who's doing those work. We just want the timelines and all that, so that the MassDOT can share with us, so that we can put on a city website, so that the city resident, particularly the Highlands, know where we at and so on. So I'm sure the report is coming from the manager. Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the council. That report is a work in progress and will be coming. The final dollar, the dollar figure that we're going to be using, as well as the schedule and cost. We do have that, and it's our intention to put that onto the city website as well, to kind of keep progress, keep the residents up to date on the progress.
Okay, no other?
Yeah, just to reiterate, Mr. Mayor, the alignment and the option has been chosen, so I'm not sure where that has come from. I don't want to freak anybody out, but we should have the correct information.
Any other comments? Thank you. Now go to the next line item, the motion response, Burnham Road and Andover Street. Councilor Gishier and Councilor Mercier, who would like to go first? Councilor Gishier?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I reached out to the resident. The resident would like to thank the engineering office and would ask them to pass along to Mass DOT a thank you.
Councilor Mercier?
Yeah, I'm very, God bless you. I'm very grateful for the Connor residents that cut back that tree, because it was very hard to see when you had to practically get out into the street before you could be safe, but they did a great job there. I just wish the barrels could just be pushed back a bit so that we had a little wider area to make that turn. It's like very tight, but maybe they have to, but see, maybe if we could just push the barrels a little bit further back so that we can make a turn. Thank you.
Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. I have the same observation that it's so narrow down there. I was hoping for a little bit more in the report. I didn't realize it was just about the tree, but you can't turn out of the streets. You can't turn out of the bank parking lot. You can't get across from the Walgreens. And so I don't know if we can talk to the state to see if they can do something. I don't know. Do we have a timeline on the schedule again on fixing the road and the sidewalks on the other side now?
Mr. Manager?
Hello again. So in terms of timelines, the immediate timeline for sidewalk, they are working on the south side of the roadway right now. It will be opened up at the end of this week, and then they will move into doing planting. The sidewalk will be they will pour sidewalks in, let me see, right side of the sidewalk toward the end of next week and beginning of the following week. And once that's done, they were going to do the bank, the curve on the bank, and after that they're moving on to doing the traffic signal, and hopefully they will have this traffic signal up and running by hopefully by the end of November.
Okay, so one more week of the narrow lanes, hopefully?
Yeah, hopefully, a couple more weeks. And then once the sidewalk is complete, the roadway is done, they will open up. When the traffic is open up, we'll hopefully to open up to normals by the end of the year. We should have a lot of substantial completion by the end of the year, and then they will do more at the intersection on the Tewksbury side.
Okay. And then, dare I ask, any help on the sidewalk, on extending the sidewalk down to the driveway where they tore up?
Yeah, that has been working on right now. They will.
It looks like they took a couple more up. Are they going to go right down to the driveway?
They're going to go all the way in front of that property to the driveway.
To the driveway. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. No other comments. We'll go to the next line item. Item line E, lighting issue, Prescott Street, by myself and Councilor Janess. Councilor Janess.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Did have an opportunity to walk down there, and the lighting is better than it was. There is still a pretty large gap of no lighting basically in front of the old Sun building on that side of the street. There is one light pole that's on the other side of the street. I don't know if it might be possible to add one on that side, but if so, I think that'd be something to look at in conjunction with the sidewalk project we talked about last week. So thank you for getting down there and repairing those lights. I do appreciate it.
Through Mr. Manager to Mr. Byrne.
To you, Mr. Mayor, the council. Councilor, I talked to Steve Kuchu, and we can add more luminance to those three lights. We also can add a few more lights. We have, I believe, some in our shop that we can put them on a work order, and we'll get them put up hopefully within the next couple of weeks.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No comment by me. Good comment, Councilor Janess. We now go to the next line item. F, hiring of staff maintenance renovated Lowell High School. Councilor Gishia.
Thank you, Mayor Chow. Through you to the manager. Manager Golden, thank you for the report. And you also put in it that there's a new position. Will that position be reporting directly to the high school?
Mr. Manager.
That position will be coming in through the Commissioner's office over at DPW.
So it'll be reporting to Middlesex Street?
That's correct.
Will it be solely designated to the high school?
No.
Okay, so
not at this time.
So at this time, do we have anybody who will be reporting out of that high school?
That person that we will be hiring will be responsible for the high school. But we're looking at it from the perspective of sharing the wealth of knowledge that person's going to have with the entire department. We are looking at the facilities piece very seriously. That has been discussed on the council floor, but that person will be, going to work, if you will, at Middlesex Street.
Currently, the high school is 620,000 square feet. And not to bring up the past again, but the past is, and currently I manage a building that is similar to the same size. And there's no way to respond to a building without having an HVAC person in that building, a plumber, and an electrician. It's just too big of a building. You can't manage that from Middlesex Street. There's no way. And it will go right back into the same failure spot after spending almost $400 million over there. And the good thing about the high school is if somebody did report to the high school, within walking distance is City Hall, the police station. Those things could be maintained from a person who actually goes there like it's one campus setting. This is a major, major failure when you start looking at how, and I know it's a beginning stage of this project, but this project needs to have an outline, and you're early at this. This should have been done a year ago. If we don't get people in there and get people reporting there and people understanding where are the plumbing assets in the walls as they'd be putting in, where is the electrical, what is the electrical going to be? There's a lot of things that move in these buildings, from fire extinguisher inspections to, hood vents to, there's daily things that go on in there. And I think that, I hope that this isn't the answer to the maintenance question that was put forth as a motion, that this would be the staff that would maintain there, because it sounds to me like this is a person being hired to maintain all the HVACs in the city and not just one building. And that building is a massive, massive building for one person not to be stationed there. and more than that even.
Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor, through you to the council. Currently, right now, we do not have a facilities department. We are looking at lands and buildings as taking care of all of the municipal buildings. We will be spending considerable time over there, as we already have been, but that would be something that we would need to create a complete facility just for one organization. From not to be mistaken, showing up at Middlesex Street, our lands and buildings currently will be obviously taking part and taking care of all of the buildings. We do not have the capacity at this time just to have our own HVAC / plumber / electrical person over there on just one campus. And I do understand what you're saying, but we will be taking this a step further in the coming months. But just trying to get this one particular piece hired, I think, is something that we should be concentrating on. And our goal is to ensure that this person fully understands what is going on at the high school.
Whether we agree or disagree, I would say that Lands and Buildings Management has the right to assign. So Lands and Buildings still can be the outfit that is the oversight of any maintenance that would be assigned to that building at the high school. The problem is that we have a maintenance of effort that we can charge off to the schools. We need to hire the proper staff to maintain that building. No question. And whether we call it a facilities department, we call it lands and buildings, management has the right to assign employees to where they operate out of. So I think that, we look at that maintenance of effort and we go over to the school department and say, this is what it's going to cost us to maintain this building. And here are the 3 people that will need to be assigned there. Those discussions, I thought were underway, but maybe they're not. And I don't know what the school side is thinking about this, but that building's a large building, and it definitely needs people to report there. Or we're going to be right back in the same place 15 years from now.
Council, I'm not questioning that at all. We have 29 other buildings that are still in a situation that we have been doing a lot of work on. We need to take, you can call it facilities, you can call it lands and buildings, we need to beef that entire department up. Just to have one person over there, I think that's not the way I'm looking at it. I'm looking at lands and buildings / facilities being there at every point in time, like they are trying to get around to every other building. I agree with what you're saying, but this is going to give us the opportunity in the future, and I think to increase something that I believe other reports have put forth, saying that we need additional electricians, we need additional HVAC, and we need additional plumbers. So we're trying to work with what the folks that we have to ensure that this is going to satisfy everything going on throughout the city. So trying to increase our facilities department is going to be, once again, paramount for the city to move forward.
No other comments? Are you all set, Councilor Kishier? You all set? No other comments? We'll now go to the next line item, motion response G, gunfire and fireworks. Councilor Scott and Councilor Mercier, who would like to go first? Councilor Scott?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for this report to Interim Superintendent Gollner. It's a very good report. I'm just curious if there's any decisions have been made around placement that you're looking at right now. The motion came after discussions with residents around Central Street and Groves Ave about concerns about being able to pinpoint a shooter in a tight neighborhood like Back Central, and also around the fireworks that they were concerned were going to cause fires in the neighborhood just because of the close proximity to all the homes. So I didn't know what area you were looking at. It doesn't really say it in the report. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, Councilor. So right now, a lot of that will depend on what system is eventually chosen, what vendor, because some of the systems have different distances in which they can detect or be able to set the systems up. So we're not sure what system we'll be accepting through the vendor program. It'll go out to RFP. We'll work with Mike Vaughn and then determine the specifics of each program. So there's some of them work in a 3-mile radius. Others can go a quarter mile to half mile, which may be better with the city. Back in 2015, I think Councilor Yem was, the city looked at ShotSpotter,
And the cost of the shot spotter at that time even was, several $100,000. So the city went with video system instead of looking at the shot spotter. So now we're looking to combine that with the grant from the Project Safe Neighborhood and the U.S. Attorney's Office, and hopefully combine that. But as soon as we figure out a vendor and the distances at which we can set the cameras, then we'll look at what location in the city. A lot may be based on our crime analysis and the needs of the city. And as you said, Councilor, maybe the lower back central area, which has seen an increase of shots fired and some other issues in that part of downtown, may be one of the areas that will be chosen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Yam?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the report, Mr. Goldner. I remember in 2015 I ran for Lowell City Council, and the shot spotter was on the it's a hot item to discuss, and I thought it's a great idea to pinpoint the gunshot, and the system at the time, I remember that, be able to distinguish between fireworks and a gun, and I thought it was really, really excellent. And now the technology more advanced and the price is also less, so hopefully with the funding that the police department receive, able to purchase the new equipment to work with what the system that the chief is using right now, the video portion of it. So thank you for the report again.
Thank you.
Any other comment? Councilor Musia?
Yes, this is a wonderful report because I didn't realize there's a grant from our United States Attorney Rachel Rawlings called Project Safe Neighborhood, where there's $95,000 available to get the piece of equipment and put it in an area of the city. So I think that's remarkable, because when you have a place like Groves Avenue where the neighbors are having a heck of a lot of trouble on that very dead-end small street, and you don't know the difference between is it fireworks or is it gunshots, I'm very concerned, and I know I'm going to say something that's probably not really nice, and I always believe that when people are in trouble, you give them a chance. But if you have to keep giving them chances, and they're on Section 8 and they're destroying the neighborhood, I say, out you go. There are many people waiting on a list to get into the housing or Section 8 or whatever, and there are people that are on it that take advantage and do a lot of bad things. I don't know who's responsible for that, but I think it's not really, it's not good. It's not good.
Any other comments, questions? Here now, we'll now go to the next line item. H, noise levels. Councilor Drinkwater, Councilor Leahy. Councilor Drinkwater.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Superintendent Goldner for the report. Just a quick question. I know, one, it's good to see that the decibel machines, readers, being used to measure the noise levels. I'm sure a lot of the incidents mentioned in this report that the police department responds to are most likely at private residences. I'm sure there are probably far too many calls that the department has to handle regarding noise levels at residences. But one reason why I'd mentioned permitted events in the motion was because I was trying to parse out the difference here that parties at residences are, I know, always going to happen and you have to respond. But if an event has pulled a permit, for an event and for specifically to play or perform amplified music, and those noise levels are consistently over the course of an event being going over what's authorized. Is there any way during the course of that event to say let them know that the permit could be revoked if they're consistently going over those levels? Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor, that would as well be covered under the ordinance. Even with the amplified noise ordinance and having a permit, they still have to abide by. So it's different with something like a PA address at the Colley Stadium as opposed to, and I think that there was some issues with it was a car show at the Holy Ghost, and I know that drew some complaints. And I spoke to Sergeant Timmy Golden, who responded to that call that day, and what he said was they were very compliant, and when he went there and talked to the people, they were immediately looked to the source, which was apparently they were also displaying some car stereo equipment and showcasing that as well, and it was rather loud, which they turned down as soon as he came. They made sure they shut it down, and as soon as that happened, he cleared the call. With the ordinance as well, the first offense is a warning. If they don't turn or the noise isn't reduced within 10 minutes, then a subsequent violation could be issued, which that didn't happen at this time. After the sergeant went, he said they were very compliant. But any permitted event still would have to, especially with this, the ordinance is very specific with timelines for different events and permitting. And the other issue that could be if there's repeated offenses, then we could deny permits in the future to those either vendors or to where the event is going to be held. So there's a few different actions that we could take and talk to the city about not issuing permits to them anymore.
Thank you. And I think part of the issue, what you referenced, is I think there were multiple different sources of noise at that particular event from the cars and the stereo equipment that you had mentioned. So I think that might have been part of the problem. But I think it's important that the history is considered, permits are being considered at future events. So thank you very much for the clarification.
Thank you, sir.
Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Through you to the manager. So when we issue the permits, do the permits go to the police department or do they go through another department?
So they start with the city. Roberto issues the permit, goes to the police department, the fire department, the city. Is checks on the people that are running the events, who are seeking the permit, and then final approval usually through the deputy chief. Mark LeBlanc will review the permit, see if there's any police officers or details needed, and the fire department does the same thing with the permitting.
Okay, so the biggest question from the neighbors is, can we limit them to 11 o'clock? Because these events go after 11 till 11:45 or midnight. So how do we just make a motion, or do we have to go through a certain subcommittee and just say that all events, I mean, this happened in Pawtuckaville for a number of years. So events should end at 10:30 or 11 o'clock at the most.
We would need to amend the ordinance, Counselor, for that, and because I believe, I'm just trying to check with Council that it's midnight, correct? That's right.
All right.
So
I'll
that
put
is
on a
something-
motion, we can put it up for discussion and.
Correct. That's something we would need to do on the.
Because I don't think the police department should be driving around with these issues. It should start at the permitting process. And, that's the biggest complaint from the neighbors. It goes on too late, and we should just end it at a certain time. So, all right, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other comments? Here now, we'll go to the next line. Item I, pole-mounted speed monitors by myself. And thank you, Chief, for your department already purchased the speed motion monitors, but congratulations on having more funding to purchase more. I don't have a comment particularly on this one, but there's a line item further down on Manufacturer Street speed table. I know that the speed humps there already, but I think a couple of weeks ago there was some business owners in that area that came to speak that those speed humps still really didn't work. There's still people driving fast on that road. Would it be possible maybe to use one of the speed monitor on that road to start out with your program?
Possibly, we could put one somewhere over there. I know that the captain of the sector has gone down and spoken to the business owners down there and tried to put some police officers down there as well to monitor some speed limits. So when they come in, we could definitely try to post one over there. And I think because of the front of the business and some of the business owners were concerned with the possible speeds.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any other comments? Thank you, Chief. Hearing none, we'll go to the next line. Item J, National Grid Fence. Councilor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks For the grid report, yes, the National Grid put up the fence, but they still encroach on the city sidewalk, and I'm told that that will eventually, they will take care of that once the construction in that area is done. I'm happy that they put some sort of a barrier so you didn't see all the junk in their yard. So it's a good the good first step. So I appreciate the manager's office working with them, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Mr. Manager.
No other comments. We'll now go to the next line. Item K, Fowler Road at Varnum Ave with attachment. Councilor Rook.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just ask that the residents be kept in touch with what's going on over there. I know we had a meeting with the traffic engineer who did a great job, and I know she has the emails of a couple of the residents that live there. So if they could just be kept up to date, that'd be great. Thank you.
No other comments? Would you like to say something? Please.
No, I'm good.
No? You were just ready to go, that's all, right? Okay, wonderful. Thank you for being here. If you don't want to make comment, that's okay. We'll go to the next line item. L, citywide 25 miles per hour with attachments. Councilor Rook.
Yeah, so we've had a couple of subcommittees on this. I'm not sure if we wanted to send it for an ordinance to take a vote on it, or if the police chief wants to give the department's opinion. This is the 25-mile speed limit, correct? Right. So I know that the traffic engineer was in support of it, and so I mean, I don't know where we are now. What the manager's office wants to do with it, or if you want to just have an ordinance drafted and for a vote.
Mr. Manager, any comments on that, or would that go to any opinion through Mr. Manager to the solicitor? Just okay.
I mean, the law department can do that if that's the will of the council.
Yeah, I mean, if the council wants to take a vote as a whole to send it to the law department for an ordinance, and then to have a public hearing, I know there's a process that has to happen. I would imagine that this would have to go for a public hearing, right?
Yes.
So if we need a vote from the council to send it for an ordinance for a public hearing, I'd make a motion to do that tonight.
Second.
No, I was going to say the same thing.
Well, I had a question. Yeah, I'll second it too. Yeah. And I also have a question through you to the chief or the traffic engineer. What do you think there's going to be some growing pains with this? So any input from other communities that have done this? I notice when you're up in, say, Maine or whatever, they don't pull everybody over, but the squad cars might just flash their lights to tell you to slow down. So, you can't be pulling everybody over, right? But do the cars have equipment that you would signal people to slow down and they would get the message? This is going to be a big change for the city.
So one of the things, Council, that we were talking about with the new speed boards would be to deploy those to the main thoroughfares in the city, especially with people coming from, like out of Gorham Street, coming from the surrounding towns, to not only have the signs changed, but make them aware with the new speed signs and move them around the city. There'll obviously be a period of breaking in and some warning and just letting people know through, if we do stop them and issue warnings for a month or so. I know the traffic engineer is looking to set something up for this to occur in the spring, and we'll work together with the traffic engineer to make sure there's plenty of warning put out and through signage and public messaging and through our website. So, and then as many speed boards as we can, we'll have up the pole mounted as well as the ones that go in the streets and on the sides as well. So,
okay.
If I may, there is a public informational element, educational element that will have to go into this. We'll have to put some information on the website. I will probably want to go around to the neighborhood meetings and kind of let everybody know this is happening. And then we can work with a sign contractor, which we will need to put in all the signage to put up variable message signs before it actually becomes enforceable, to say this is coming next week, it's going to be 25 miles an hour. So it'll be the education in the beginning.
Okay. All right. No, that'll be good. I mean, not to be smart, but yeah, if you go to the neighborhood meetings, there'll be about 40 people that know, and then we have to tell the rest of the city. So, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Nguyen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Exactly, that was the point. Chairman Rook and committee members Scott and I, we impressed on that as well during the subcommittee, public safety subcommittee meeting we had twice. We're talking about the educational campaign, signage and enforcement, but the other two, the front educational campaign and the signage will come first. So the rollout on this is not going to be right away, but as Chairman Rook indicated that, you put together an ordinance, you have public hearing, and there's going to be time in terms of how we're going to strictly enforce it. So thank you.
Councillor Janess?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for all the work that's been put in so far on this by the subcommittee, the traffic engineer, the police department, and everyone else. I think this is a good step for the city to be taking, and I look forward to seeing this roll out. My only thought was just with the education piece. I think including neighborhood groups is good, and that's going to go a long way. But I would also suggest that we include the university, reach out to them, make sure the university knows, and ask them if they can communicate that to their whole body, all their faculty, staff, and students. I think there's a lot of drivers in Lowell who make up the university community, and so keeping them in the loop, I think, will be go a long way to smooth out this implementation. Thank you.
Councillor Robinson?
Thank you. Maybe this is the time we look at, because I mean, one of my colleagues has brought it up in the past. You know, the signs that I see them in other communities, triangle shaped with speed numbers in the center, and it's lit up. The whole sign is illuminated on the edge. I mean, that discussion has popped up several times. That might be a good opportunity to implement in some of the key areas.
Mr. Manager?
Council, that's something we could look at through you, Mr. Mayor, to the council. That's something we could look at. We're going to be putting together a signage, a whole bunch of new signage. So that's definitely something you can have the traffic engineer take a look at and see where, when, and how we should put those.
Councillor Rook?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I remember a couple meetings ago, the superintendent spoke of, the city has purchased, the police department has purchased more speed signs that are going to be, utilized throughout the city and, known roadways that have speed problems. So, a good thing.
Any other comments?
So, Mr. Mayor, is there a motion on the floor to send it to the law department for
Yeah,
ordinance?
that was a motion by you, second by Councillor Janess. The motion's all set, Councillor. We now go to the next line item. So persistent helps, Councillor Janess. The next line item is the bridge and VFW, Councillor Robinson.
Thank you. Again, I read the report. I appreciate the report. Thank you. They were out just evaluating it. I'm not sure of when, but I was notified yesterday at 4:36 by a resident again. It's the timing of the light when you're looking to make the left turn onto VFW from Bridge. They say the timing is very fast over there. That's one of the issues that remain at that intersection. So maybe we can get someone back out there to take a look at it and see if the timing is a little off. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Hearing none, go to the next line item. It is N, Dunn and Broadway, Councillor Yam or Councillor Scott. Who would like to go first? Councillor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the report, and I understand. Appreciate the report. Thank you.
Councillor Scott.
I'm all set, thank you.
Thank you, councillors.
Mayor.
Who had their hands up first? Councillor Janess?
Yeah, and then May.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I appreciate the report and the work that's been put into this. And I understand the issues that were referenced here and why we may not be able to do some things. I did want to mention, though, that since that signal has gone in, the usability of the roads around it have changed. When that signal went live, nobody turned left onto, I guess, the Broadway extension that takes you over the Nicky Songus Bridge onto Canal. A lot more people make that turn now. Currently, there's no time at which that's an exclusive turn. You're always contesting with the traffic coming straight up Dutton Street against you. So I don't know if that is an intended way of the signal, or if we should add an exclusive phase. That's obviously, you know much more than me, but it's something some of my neighbors have brought to me, so I did want to mention it again. I brought it up with the previous administration, but obviously a lot's changed since then, so I thought I would mention it again. And as for the bollard issue with the precedent, I kind of worry that we've already crossed that bridge and that precedent has been set. This weekend I was out traveling around, and I noticed at the intersection of Westford and Stevens, there's a whole row of bollards protecting those businesses right there. I don't know if those were put in by the city. I don't know if they were put in by the business group there, or where those came from, how long they've been there. But saying this is a Rubicon we can't cross, I think is something we may need to reevaluate in light of existing conditions around the city. So I just wanted to bring that to folks' attention. Thank you.
Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. Just quickly, since we're on Broadway Street, Mr. Manager, further up Broadway Street by Rita Mercier's house, could we fix that island? There's been barrels there so we need to fix the signage so it looks a little bit better.
Sure. Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through you to the council. That is something that we are looking at, actually. It's a very, sorry, by the house that Rita built. That is a very awkward island. So we are looking at that in its totality in that area. So that's probably not something we're looking to tackle until probably the spring of 2023, unless we can come up with a better idea rather quickly. It's, in some instances, it may make sense, it may not make sense, but it's something that's on our radar screen.
It's just, so the biggest problem is the signs keep getting run over?
Well, the biggest problem is we don't know, and I'm going to wait to see what the traffic engineer thinks. Is that the best use of the island there? Is it something else we should be doing? I don't know if you've finished looking at that yet.
It's on my radar. I am aware of that island and the signage issues, and there's signage missing, and so there's something that's on the radar.
Council, it's on our radar. Is we're not really.
If we could just make it
quite
look
sure.
a little better until we fix it, that would be the issue.
We can make it look better with signage, and hopefully it stays. It's just an awkward island that we're not really sure what it's doing.
Okay.
So.
Councilor Musia?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That island was put there in an effort to provide traffic calming so people would slow down in their vehicles, because a lady got hit by a car crossing the street to go from the senior center to Market Basket. And that island was created there at the expense and the work of Arthur DeMoulis's crew. They did that, not the city. And they had a nice solar light that would flash when people would be crossing the street. So I don't know what happened. I know a few people ran over it, and so much for traffic calming, but that's the reason that was there. It does look unsightly. I don't know what to say. Maybe if we had some speed, I hate to say speed bumps, but something to get the people from the senior center to the Market Basket safely. People are speeding down there, and that was an effort to slow traffic down. So, thank you.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Councilors, this is, we just don't know what to do yet. We did talk to the DeMoulis folks over there as well. We know something needs to be done in that area to slow speeding down. We're very familiar with it, but I'm just, we're going to give it a little bit more time with the traffic engineer to see what is that the best idea. For the time being, I talked to Assistant City Manager Machado. We will put up some signage again and monitor it, but I'm not sure until we're told differently that that's the best option. We're not saying not put anything there. We're just saying of what is the best option there and what could satisfy the walkers over there, so everyone's safe. So if you could give us a little bit more time, but we will clean up that area with some new signage.
Councilor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Manager. I have residents, a few residents in the acre. They ran over that island between Market Basket and the senior center, and it used to have a sign, but it got ran over. It got completely destroyed. If we cannot do anything until the spring, may I request to put some sort of lights, because it's really dark to see. There's a tree on the side of the Market Basket, and then at night you can't see. The snow's coming, the snow cover that. If I'm from out of town, I don't know there's an island in there. I ran over and ruined the trucks, and that's one of the residents brought to my attention. So if we could put like a yellow cone or lights and something that that warn people that's an island right there, don't go over it. The snow plow did the same thing. They plowed into that thing. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager.
Any other comments? Here now, we now go to the next line item, alphabet O, Merrimack RRFB, Councilor Jenness.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager first, thank you for the report. I'm definitely excited to hear that RFBs are likely coming to the Kirk Street crossing. I think that makes a lot of sense and will probably be a decent compromise. But I do ask that we just keep an eye on that intersection at Shattuck Street, because there's a lot of walking traffic that comes out of Lucy Larkin Park right there and then across right there. So folks, even with the RRFB being, a short distance away, people may not use it. So just to kind of keep an eye on that going forward and try to see maybe it may make sense to put one in there or move one or whatever, but that's for further down the line. But thank you for this. And the only question I had on it was, can someone tell me what the approximate cost of an RRFB setup is? I'm just curious.
If they're hardwired, they are approximately $25,000 for the pair. And the solar ones are a little less expensive, I think.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Councilor Leahy.
Just very quickly, through you to the manager, could that intersection too, I think we're getting a little laxed on ticketing. Everybody's parking right on the corners there, especially at the law office. And on the other side, you can't see. So we really have to see if parking can enforce that. Just have them drive around every 2 hours and ticket people there, because everyone's parking right on that corner, probably running into the law office. But seriously, you can't see, left or right. They're just on those corners. So,
Mr. Manager, any all set?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that can get done, Councilor.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions on that line item? Hearing none, we'll go to the next line item, P, motion response, four-way stop signs, Suffolk and Broadway. Councilor Yam and Councilor Scott. Who would like to go first? Councilor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate the report, and I understand that Suffolk is a one-way heading north, crossing Broadway, and I'm happy to see that the city would look into maybe do a crosswalk on Broadway from Suffolk side to the other side of Broadway. In addition, I like the idea of warning people, because the curve and people did drive so fast they couldn't turn. They lost control. They hit a private property on the left at the end of Suffolk and Broadway a couple times. So in addition to putting the crosswalk on Broadway and then a warning sign as you come out from the school, that will be great. While we at it, is it possible to fix that bridge over the canal. It looked like someone went into the rail, and then there was a blockade putting in front of it, so no one, venture into that canal again. So I think while you're doing that, if that bridge can be taken care of, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Councillor Scott?
I'm all set, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments or question? Hearing none, we now go to the last motion response queue on manufacturers street speed table. I have no comment on that. With that said, that completes the motion response section. We have one more informational report on 4.2. Earlier, Congresswoman Lloyd Trahan came to speak on ARPA information. We now turn to Mr. Manager on the presentation on the American Rescue Plan. Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the council. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to get the presentations up. Excellent. Okay, back to first. Sorry about that. Okay. So first and foremost, as you see on the first slide, I hope you're seeing this, that I want to say thank you very much to the team that has put this together. First and foremost, I should say thank you to the councilors. Each and every one of you have made your thoughts known with emails, with phone calls, with discussion points, and what is extremely important, time for us to be spending this money that we've been given by the federal government. You're going to see the receipt to date is $65.2 million. That has just changed. Just recently, the Treasurer's Office has received the additional $10 million. And as I say, that hasn't been cleared yet, but we should be in that range of $75,977,000. Giving that special thanks to the council for all of the help that you've given me, as well as introducing me to folks and encouraging conversation. I also want to take an opportunity to thank my team, the Assistant City Manager, Nancy McGovern, as well as Connor Baldwin here to my right and your left, Brendan Flynn, who is over to the left, looking to answer any questions, and one of our newest team members, Austin Ball. And of course, Doreen keeping us all in line, making sure that we have this happening. So one of the most important pieces here is the deadline for obligation is December 31st, 2024, and the spending deadline is December 31st, 2026. It is possible that this money could change, but given the time frame and given how difficult it is to actually spend some of this money, we want to make sure that we are coming out of the gate and doing this as soon as possible. So once again, the deadline on the obligation is December 31st, 2024. At this time, once that date comes forward, we cannot move any of the money around. You'll see in things coming up that we've taken the best educated opportunity that we have to see where we can spend this money, where it's going to best utilize the city. So under the ARPA program in the background, the eligible categories, pretty easy: support the public health systems, replace public sector revenues, the water and sewer infrastructure, address negative economic impacts, especially with premium for essential workers, and the broadband infrastructure. Once you've had the opportunity to look through this, the broadband infrastructure, it is my hope that the FCC, the Affordable Connectivity Program, is something that is going to really assist our city and town as well. So there were bills passed on this in June by the federal government, and we are still waiting for that money. You'll see here that on session 1, we did have previous ARPA sessions, and what we were trying to do was to add and broaden our perspective as to what our community wanted, and that the community really started to respond. In the first session that I had an opportunity to go to over at the YMCA, Brendan did a fabulous job with engaging folks. Mr. Flynn did a fabulous job engaging folks, ensuring that everybody felt as though they had a voice at the table, and we started to hear some common themes. We had easily over 30 people at that session. The second session was held at the Lowell Boys and Girls Club. The same type of theme had happened. I know that councilors were popping in and out in different input sessions, but this here also gained attention of 30-plus people over at the Boys and Girls Club. The third session was held at the Senior Center, and that was probably one of the larger sessions that we had. Better than 120 people. Once again, the same themes continue to come up over and over again, but it's important to know that we just didn't stop here with these three pieces. With the input of the council, with the input of the community, additional emails, a meeting with the Lowell Nonprofit Alliance, neighborhood meetings, as well as online surveys. This is what we've come to agree on as where the residents of the city of Lowell are excited to get to. This particular slide right here, and I am trying to go as fast as I can because I know councilors have questions and what we want to dive down into. I'm happy that the council's had an opportunity to view this previously, but with the social impact programs, with the Lowell Fire Department, which we can talk about, each one of these pieces by category, I'm going to try to break down into the slides so everybody has an opportunity to take a look. So the next slide coming up is a social impact. This is an important piece that the council had moved forward on. This is one of the four major pillars that the council discussed, and was discussing it with education and training, public health, the socioeconomic, as well as the growing generational wealth. We're going to invest in several of these social impact programs because of the commitment and the thought that this council has moved forward with. I'm not going to end up going through, but these are the ideas where we want to spend this money. Addressing equity in Lowell education training programs through Mass Hire and other external partners. How could we do that? Would that be with continuing education, additional training for folks, career training? Some of the councilors, or I should say most of the councilors, have talked about the apprentice-type program that we could be getting ourselves into and trying to look towards strengthening our apprentice program right here in the city. That's an idea that I think we would be able to tackle in this. We can also look towards programs in underserved, and this is all within underserved communities, addressing equity and the Lowell socioeconomic equity piece. The bookmobile, that was something that we adopted that a lot of the councils were pretty excited about, bringing educational opportunities right into the neighborhoods. So you can see through this $13.4 million social impact program, the amount of money that we're committing and the percentage that I think is extremely important, and it shows our commitment with the overall monies as a whole. There's another important piece in here that I want to, they're all very important pieces, but one of the other pieces, expanding the co-op team. We've talked about homelessness. We've talked about education with mental health and substance abuse. And trying to expand our co-op team, I think would or could go a long way. I've sat with Lisa Golden on a number of occasions, and Nancy and our newest member, which you met tonight. And this is going to give us an opportunity to really start looking at some of the issues and the problems that are plaguing not just our city. It's not right to just say the city of Lowell has this problem. This is happening throughout our country and throughout, of course, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. But expanding this co-op team to ensure that there's safety for residents and there is opportunity for people to live a better life. I think everyone's would agree with that. So social impact programming at 13.4. The next piece is another piece, Lowell Fire Department. This particular rundown of replacing different engines, I've talked to the chief about this, and this is his best estimate as to what needs to happen now. That does not mean that this is in granite. If something happens and the chief feels as though that we need to move into a different direction to replace, let's just hypothetically say, another pumper or another ladder, then we're going to have that flexibility and that opportunity to do that. We did talk about earlier today about jumping right off as soon as we can, and I think Mr. Flynn would agree with this. This is something that we can go to different organizations. I don't want to name any of the fire apparatus companies, but to really turn and say to them, what is the best thing that you can do for the city if we're looking to spend $10 million? What can you give us? How can this happen? Should we be attacking this in a very macro way? So that's something that with the 43 vehicles that we currently have in the department and the ability in the future to start really replacing 1 to 2 vehicles additionally per year. This is something that pretty excited about, as I know that this is something we should be doing or should have been doing, but this is an opportunity that we're really going to make sure that some of our oldest and most important apparatus are replaced. The next piece that I would like to bring your attention to is Lowell neighborhood improvements. What we're trying to do here is create a lot of flexibility. The flexibility within the districts throughout the city to make sure that there's equity, not just in our park areas, but in our business districts. So whether this be like I stated, in our parks or our business development areas, this is an opportunity for the councilors to really come forward and say, we're thinking about doing something here, whether, once again, be for open space, which is so vitally important, or overall improvements throughout our business districts. Once again, all of this is trying to build in the greatest amount of flexibility for the city to move as fast as we possibly can. The next piece is another extremely important piece with municipal buildings. Municipal buildings, we're putting $7 million right now of ARPA money, but we also want to bring in the fact that the council moved forward and put $2.3 million in our capital fund. So I'm looking at this from a $7 million piece, the capital piece, as well as what the governor just announced, which was another $4.2 million with school HVAC. We're looking at an unprecedented amount of money that we will be spending as soon as we can get it out the door. I'm sure the Commissioner Byrne can tell you as well how much we have currently going on. Ladies and gentlemen, we will have issues in our schools and our municipal buildings. We will. But you know something? With $13.5 million that we're spending on this, it's going to be less. In the next few years, our goal is to make sure that we are looking at all of our equipment, making sure that we're doing this preventative maintenance. In some aspects, we haven't touched preventative maintenance in our buildings, and I don't even want to tell you on the number of years. But this is where this needs to stop. And because of the ARPA money, because the council was very wise at giving $2.3 million, and because of the latest round of $4.2 million that the governor just released, we are going to make a serious, serious dent. I want to be crystal clear on this. We will still have problems this winter. We are going to have issues, but we are putting our money where our mouth is to make sure that this is the start of a new beginning when it comes to our municipal buildings. The other piece that I would be remiss if I didn't mention is the MSBA commitment that the council has made to the entire school system. It is too big to put in there or to list out, but when we're talking about municipal building improvements, when we're talking about school building improvements, we are going to make it happen. This is where this is going to start. It starts today. So that $13.5 million is absolutely unprecedented, and I thank the council very much for this being one of their major pieces. The next piece that we're all very familiar with is water, sewer, and infrastructure improvements. We've had discussions. We've had people working extremely hard on this in water and in wastewater. We're putting $10.6 million towards this. We have had discussions with EPA, as all the councilors know. That is an ongoing discussion. This is something that we stand committed to make sure that, especially with the combined sewer overflow, to make sure that our river is as clean as it possibly can be. This is, once again, a commitment that has been made with the guidance of this council sitting in front of us. So the $10.6 million is, once again, is just the beginning of what we're going to be spending within our water and sewer system. The economic development and recovery at $5.8 million, this is another opportunity for us to help our businesses in this area, in our areas. They've had a lot of financial challenges because of COVID-19. We're looking at a broad array of grants. DPD has really got some great ideas. We will be putting this out where folks will have the opportunity to apply, but make no mistake about it, whether it be an economic development and recovery or any other piece, this is going to be challenging for everybody. This is going to make sure that we are getting the best out of everybody, looking to make sure that our money is being spent, the ARPA money is being spent appropriately, where it is going to continue in this matter to push travel, tourism, hospitality, supporting the industry that supports us throughout the downtown. And that's with the economic development and recovery going at 5.8. From the nonprofit support, I've heard from so many councilors about what is important and the long-term assets that we're looking generally towards some of our smaller nonprofits. Some of our smaller nonprofits, they lack the actual capacity because a lot of these folks are not being paid. A lot of these folks do not have larger organizations to rely on. So the capacity to secure additional resources, this is what we're really gauging this toward, this $4.6 million. These will indeed be smaller amounts of money, but smaller amounts of money to these smaller organizations. When we're talking about $100,000 or $150,000 or $200,000, I don't believe that's a small amount of money. That is major funding for small organizations that, once again, their focus is every single day surviving, trying to provide the service that they are looking to provide. So this is what we're looking at from the perspective of long-term assets for these folks. You can think of anything from the perspective of vehicles, trying to get people to and from work. You can think of refrigeration, something that is so important to keep, say, food on the table of people throughout our greater Lowell area. And I don't want to forget the fact of the annual CDBG monies. This is all, with CDBG monies, the emergency solution grants, the home programming, this is all getting wrapped in, not just the $4.6 million, but we, you as a council, we as a city, continue to spend money, and it needs to be recognized that our smaller nonprofits need that assistance. They need that assistance to get to the next goal, and this is to make sure that the underserved population in the city of Lowell is being taken care of. I believe the last piece, public health efforts, premium pay, and compliance. This particular piece, some of this money has already been spent. It's been spent for COVID-19 mitigation monies, public health, sanitation, school nurses, Lowell Police Department, and things of that nature. This is the last piece, bringing together our total number. I'd like to really just open it up for Q&A and how you, if there is any questions and answers, if anybody has a question. But the goal overall is to get this money on the streets as soon as possible. What does that mean? I would say from to put the pressure on the fire chief, let's start making the phone calls tomorrow. How many vehicles can we get into this city? When we start talking about from nonprofits and organizations that need that assistance, I know that Mr. Flynn and his group, they're putting this together as we speak. So if people have questions, thoughts, concerns, if you think I was rushing it, I am, because I want to hear from the council as to what else we need to do to stay flexible, to make sure that we get this money on the street as soon as possible, but keeping in mind that we have deadlines. Some people have discussed deadlines could be pushed out, but in my opinion, I think we should act immediately, put this out there, and get the assistance out on the street that so rightly is deserved, and it's something that I think this council has really been pushing in the past 4.5 to 5 months that I've been here. So I thank you very much. I once again apologize for my speeding through something that is so vitally important, but the fingerprints of every councilor is on this report. Let's remember one thing. If we need to, we can move money around. But this is, I believe, especially with some of the major aspects of the four major pillars, I think that we are going to have that opportunity to increase housing and help the residents of Lowell. So with that, I thank you all very much. And Mr. Mayor, if it's okay with you, I'd open it for any questions.
Sure, Mr. Manager. Councillor Yam.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Manager. This is great layout of the expenses of ARPA, and I'm very grateful to see that the city allocate a significant amount of money to help the fire department to get new fire trucks, because our firefighters put their lives on the line to save all of us, the resident of Lowell. So we, as a councilor, should, at least provide them the means to that they can perform, they can do their jobs better and safer. My last question is that neighborhood group already approaching me, and they just want to know how do they forward what they like to see done in the acre. I'm talking about the acre, so they already met with me, and they want to hear how do they approach and submit their idea and proposal to the manager. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and through you, of course, to the councilor. That's, I'm looking forward to the individual conversations with every councilor here. And it's going to be an open door policy to come in, have a discussion, find out what the organizations want and need. And unfortunately, Councilor, we're going to have to make those decisions. I know there are probably you could add a 0 to this number on the end, but we are going to make it as competitive as possible and get the best bang for our buck to ensure that this city is getting the opportunity, truly getting an incredible opportunity to springboard into something new. So the door will be open, Councilor, as it always is in the phone calls, and I'm sure Ms. Burgess will be ready to take those calls and set up those meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. One of the pieces that really jumped out to me, I'd like to thank you for. First, I'd like to thank the whole team. It's been a long process. Inputs came from all over, community, council, residents just stopping you in the grocery store. It's the social impact programs. I was happy to see, because when we had that conversation, the 4 pillars specifically, I carved out in the presentation and almost word for word, the 4 is 4, and you expanded upon it. Initially we were looking at, I think, kicking around an idea, potentially $1 million in each basket, and there's a lot more allocated for that. So I thank you for that. The community, I'm sure, will thank you for that once we really start rolling out, getting the weeds on where this money's really going. We have a lot of areas that need this. I'd also like to understand a little bit of, as far as the breakdown on the neighborhood improvement plan, there's a $9 million allocation just in that general basket. And so I think that's something, are we looking for springtime on some projects that might even be shovel ready? Or also, can these funds be used in conjunction with like CDBG or something that's already in the pipeline and might not have had enough to get to the finish line? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through you to the council. And I just want to make sure I talk to Mr. Flynn about this. I don't think there's any problem with bringing those funds together, whether we're using part of this $9 million for a park, and if we had, say, state or federal monies, other monies coming in, there's no issue with commingling those funds to make something happen?
Correct. You can use them together in conjunction to complete a project. The one thing you cannot do is you can't use it as sort of the city's match to a federal grant. Outside of that, though, you can definitely combine them with other efforts.
Now, that would just be federal monies, not state?
Correct.
Correct.
Great to know. Thank
I want
you.
to make sure I had the right answer, Councilor.
Okay. You also, Councilor Robinson.
Thank you.
I saw a lot of councilor hands up. I did write all the names down as best I could in order. If I miss you at the end, please let me know. We now go to Councilor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager. A lot of these say external partnerships, so I'm just curious what the next step is for the groups that would be coming forward for funding within those categories. I don't know if it's in an RFP, like that's issued on each one of those areas, and just how does that work?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
It says external partnerships for a lot of these, and I'm just curious what the next step is for the people. Is there an RFP that's issued, like on different categories, or how is the decision made at that point who's going to receive the funding?
So some of those external partnerships would be third-party vendors we would use. Like an example would be the fire trucks. Obviously, that's not going to be a grant. That would be an RFP that will go out to several vendors. For grant opportunities, it would be a similar process, and there would be a review committee that would take a look at what's being submitted, what's being requested, and then how we would go about approving that.
Thank you. And I did have a few more questions. The school department, have they committed ESSER funds to HVAC improvements at this point in time? Do you know?
Not at this time. I know they have done some work with Windows, I believe, Commissioner. They have done some of that. But there is definitely some work being done with ESSER money. I don't want to speak on behalf of the Commissioner, but I'm pretty sure that is happening.
Okay, and then just under the category for the $1 million for premium pay for eligible employees, I was just curious how that's determined, who's eligible for that.
The premium pay would be police and fire, and who is actually working during a set amount of time during the pandemic when it was a state of emergency.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Drinkwater?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And there's a lot in this plan to be really excited about and grateful for the opportunity to invest. And specifically, I just want to highlight the number of different capital expenditures included in here. The municipal building improvements, the fire apparatus, and also the water and sewer. I think, and this is something that has been brought up and said from the beginning of this conversation, is that not only are these investments direly needed, not only have many of them been deferred over a number of years, and it makes sense simply on that front, but by using this sort of once in a lifetime infusion of cash and being able to fund that in that fashion, we're saving the city money on future borrowing costs. I mean, these are things that we are going to have to do one way or another, and by investing to get these done now and using the investments from ARPA will have a long-run effect on the city of saving on additional bonding that would have to happen to make these improvements. So I'm really happy to see the significant amount of funding in our assets and capital expenditures in this plan. A lot of the questions I had, I think, were brought up in different ways. Some of the other areas of the plan were certainly very, very worthy investments, but just I guess it'll be an ongoing conversation. But for example, the social impact programs, sort of similar in a lot of ways to programs that can be funded through CDBG, and just wonder if there's any insight into, is it going to be a similar application process and sort of grant-making process to something like the CDBG fund, whether that be in the social impact category or the nonprofit support category? I guess, how will organizations, whether it be nonprofits funding their operations or maybe an organization with an idea for how to address our social impact goals, how will they bring a proposal forward, and how will those be considered by the city for funding? Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through you to the council. We definitely we love our CDBG money, but we're going to make it a lot easier. There is a lot of requirements that at times stops people from applying for CDBG monies. So it'll be coming into the manager's office. I will be taking, obviously, the council of, obviously the city council itself, but I'm just looking over to Giovanni at DPD, which of these programs. Every program will not be funded, but we will be weighing these programs as to what is a program that can be sustainable. The sustainability of anything that we are doing, and in some aspects, we won't be able to continue to push on sustainability. There are going to be some just one-time asks. But what we're trying to be extremely conscientious of, if we're creating something with one of our external partners, to Councilor Scott's point about the external partners, the money that they're not going to be back next year or the year after to ensure that this is something that they require. So the talking and working with our external partners to make sure that this is something that can continue. This is a jump start. This is a boost. That's the way we're looking at it. Will that be the case in every matter? Probably, let's be honest, no, it probably won't be. But that's how we're going to be gauging this. How can we indeed help organizations move to the next level, and can they indeed sustain what they're asking? So those are going to be some very difficult conversations, but we have a DPD staff that I'm fully confident in this particular matter. Director Golden is here. I'm very confident with some of the ideas we've been talking about that we will unfortunately need to say we don't see this as sustaining in the future but we will work with them to try to get it to happen. I hope that answers your question, Counselor. This is the real work starts. We were trying to put this together, trying to take in everything that the council had to say, trying to take in everything that the community had to say, but now the real work is trying to figure out, we don't want to just be handing out these, checks, if you will, and having people come to us in 2 years or 3 years saying we can't sustain this, because we want this money to be spent in a vital part of our community, which is going to continue to grow and secure our city to a better path.
Thank you. That definitely provides some clarity, and I can appreciate the point, because I think it was just last week or maybe 2 weeks ago that we were here discussing motion response on the CDBG funds, and it was brought up that there are a lot of nonprofit organizations with great missions and doing really important work that for one reason or another, whether it be the complexity or maybe they weren't aware, that they don't apply for this funding. So I appreciate, and I think it's really important that the process will be extended to some of those organizations that maybe haven't been able to benefit from the CDBG funds. I guess I would maybe just note that I think it's important that perhaps like a little more guidance go out to the to the community, the nonprofit community, social and human service providers for what we are looking for in these categories. I suppose sometimes it can be that just the squeaky wheel can sometimes get addressed, but I think it's important that the word definitely get out to the community that we are looking to make investments in these areas, and with some guidance for what it is that we are looking to do. So some of the maybe underfunded nonprofits certainly are able to get addressed here, but there's clear guidance going out to the community that this is available and what it is that the city's looking to address. But no, I think this is really important and very exciting plan that we can make a lot of good things happen in this community. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Janess.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager, I just have a few questions. Some are quick, some are a little more detailed, but the first one should be an easy one. Is this document yet available to the public online?
Not at this time, Council. I wanted the council to see it first.
Okay, I appreciate that, but...
Yeah, it will be made.
Yeah,
probably, if not tonight, first thing tomorrow.
That'd be great. And if we can just push out links and information through social media and stuff, just to let people get eyeballs on this, because this has been a pretty public process, and I think that all the work that's gone into this document, people are going to be excited to see it.
It definitely was an opportunity for the council to digest as the body that makes these rules, and quite frankly, I've heard from a lot of you in the last 24 hours. So it's just a heads up to the council to know where we should be going, and by all means, if we can hit send tonight, we will.
That's great. Thank you. Next question is more just a kind of housekeeping question on the funds that we've received to date. Have they been kept in an interest-bearing account or no up to this point? Okay.
Interest-bearing account, that is correct.
Great. And so I'm just a little curious how much interest we've earned on this up to now, and then what are the rules for that interest? Are we bound by the same ARPA rules, or is that basically just money to do with as we please?
Councilor, if I can, to CFO Baldwin.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I don't have the interest earned on it. That's something we can get you a report and can provide regular reports. However, with the ARPA funds, unlike some other federal funds, it's not program income, the interest earned, and so it is general fund revenue, the interest earned on the investment. So as we hold the money until it is fully expended, that interest will be general fund revenue.
Okay, great. Thank you. One thing I would be interested in seeing, both as a kind of an addendum to this document and then just going forward as we work this plan through the next several years, is just a percentage breakdown of what we're spending on infrastructure or capital costs versus operating costs for programs. I think that just would be an interesting breakdown just for us to keep an eye on and understand how that is going to break down going forward.
Council, if I can have the CFO answer, and then Mr. Flynn, just to make sure we get these one at a time, if that's okay.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for bringing up that point, Councilor. I just wanted to mention, the council had made a motion previously in this term. We are engaging vendors to bring forward a dashboard. And so within the next several months, online there'll be part of the city's website, regular updates. It'll be real-time data from the Munis system where individuals can come and track not only the expenditures, but the projects, see what is being spent on a categorical basis and on a project basis. And so we intend to have that up very soon for the public to keep track of how these dollars are spent and the impact that those dollars are making.
Great. I look forward to seeing that as well. That kind of ties into my next question here, which is just, would it be possible to set up a quarterly report for this body where we can get a rundown on where we are, what we've spent, what's been effective, and what we're looking to accomplish in the next quarter, just to kind of keep everybody abreast and really understand where this money is going.
Yeah. Through Mr. Manager to Mr. Flynn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, a quarterly report would not be a problem. As soon as we finalize the way this budget is set up, we'd be able to sort of start running that information and provide that.
That'd be great. Thank you. The last thing I have is just a quick question. We've obviously had a lot of questions coming to now about what is acceptable and what isn't. The high school project comes to mind as one thing that we went back and forth on. I guess my question is, how confident are we that everything in this plan is an acceptable expenditure at this point? And what's our plan going forward to make sure that the money we spend, A, we spend it all so we don't lose any, and B, we spend it on applicable things so that we don't have to pay it back to the federal government?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the council. We've utilized Powers and Sullivan, and we're relying heavily on their expertise to make sure where we can spend money, when we can spend money, and how. There have been some disappointments from my end where we could not spend the money, but once again, within this framework, we have that ability to hire people to bring them in. And believe me, Mr. Flynn knows this. We're consistently trying to stretch, but not stretch to get ourselves in any type of situation. We're relying heavily, once again, on I would say, outside counsel on that.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think this is an excellent starting point for us to get to work on putting this money in play and watching good things happen and come from it. So I look forward to following this process through and seeing what we can do for the city and the residents. So thank you so much for putting this together, and look forward to our next update.
Councilor Murcia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I kind of agree with Councilor Janess, and I kind of had those same questions too. So my question from the beginning would be, we've already expended ARPA funding money, have we? And how much would that be that we've already, out of the 76 million, how much did we spend so far?
Sure. Mr. Mayor, to the council, year to date, or for the period to date, we have spent roughly $9 million of ARPA funding, and there's another roughly $4 million that's been encumbered for purchases that we plan on making.
Okay, so this report that we just got is, where do we sit with this? Is this the whole 76 million, and we're doing a little at a time from each? Is that how we're doing this? How are we doing this?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the council. Yes. On page, sorry, folks, I think it's page 1. The received to date of the $65.2 million, we just did receive that other $10 million. That was a pretty big day today for the treasurer.
Yeah.
But as Mr. Flynn had stated, we're spent $9 million so far, and we've encumbered another $4 million. So what is required of us through ARPA as a whole is to stay within the federal guidelines to say where we're going to be spending this money, and that's the pots of money, if you will.
So this is like our chart, our guideline to go by, like our Bible to follow, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And if there's an opportunity for us prior to December 31st of 2024, if we think we need to shift some money to another, I'm going to call it pot of money, we still have that ability. But we're trying to signal to the residents of the city where the administration and the council feels that this is the most important to be spending this money in this manner, in this way, through these, I keep calling them pots of money. But at some point prior to 24, if we felt as though we needed to shift, we just have to check with Mr. Flynn to make sure that whatever money we were going to spend in said area was something that would be applicable. He'd check with Powers and Sullivan, and we would move on from there.
Did we have to show the supplier of the APA money this, how we plan on spending this?
Not at this time. I mean, Mr. Flynn is in contact with those folks on a very, very regular basis, and they are under the same situation that most communities are. They're in the process of trying to figure out how to best serve their city, and that's what we're.
So we did receive all the money from APA. We just put it into an account.
That's right.
Okay. All right.
Very exciting check yesterday that came in the mail.
I'm sure. And I'm concerned about expanding the expanded co-op teams services, the services, not the people in them, like adding more people. You're talking about services that they provide. What are we talking about on that?
I'm talking, Councilor, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Mr. Maggio.
Through you to the council. I'm talking about increasing the number of people over there. We want to be extremely careful of not creating any type of structural deficit, as I stated. We're going to hold ourselves accountable. The city's going to hold themselves accountable to the same way any of the nonprofits that could be able to utilize this money. So if we are able to increase, which Director Golden feels as though we could possibly increase members of the co-op team, there's an opportunity for us to go after additional funds in the future. So provided that we have the plan by 2026, so in January of 2027, there is no intention to be laying off the 2, 3, 4 members, additional members of the co-op. The co-op piece, as you know, Councilor, probably better than anyone.
They're wonderful. I see every day they save lives. I see every day the hard work that they do. So I just was curious about that.
I would like to say tomorrow, I want to double down on the number of people we have in co-op, but we have Director Golden and the rest of them that would stop me from doing that, because we have to make sure that this is a sustainable program that we can continue to move on.
This is a wonderful program. I can attest to that firsthand. So thank you so much. That's my questions. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Kishia.
Thank you, Mayor Chow. Through you to Manager Golden. Manager Golden, as you read through this, you see the deadline for obligations is December 31st, 2024. So at this time, is this a working document that we're looking at? This isn't set in stone. So if something happens where water and sewer needs funding and things can be done, then you can move pieces around to try to implement that piece?
This is a working document.
Yeah,
Working, living, breathing document.
Until that date. So none
That's
of this
correct.
is really etched in stone until you see it. And I wanted to clarify that, because I just don't want people to say that this is the thing you're going to be held to, because that would be unfair for anybody. A lot of the funds that have been spent have been on revenue loss, obviously, and right now, to date, we received $65.2 million. Could we explain where the other $10 million is? Is that coming later date, or?
Mr. Manager.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, through you to the council. The 65 received to date, that was as the printing to this. The additional $10 million just came in the mail today, yesterday. So, what's it? It came in. They don't bring it in a big check, but we just literally received that. It is in the treasurer's office. It'll be put in the bank, I hope, this afternoon, or it was put in the bank this evening. But I cautioned because it has not cleared yet. So I look at it from the perspective of, we have the 10 million, we have the full 75,977,000 as of this afternoon.
You know, I'm kind of sorry to hear that Powers and Sullivan is the end-all, be-all, because we had this discussion multiple times about using some of these funds for the high school project, and I still think they're wrong on their opinion, but I'm one of 11, and you're the maker of where these funds go. So I think that if there's any way to offset that high school project, whether it was through the HVAC system and the project that's going on, or whatever way that funding could be used to offset future taxpayer bills that are going to come, I just wish that it went there. But when you look at this, I think that you put a solid presentation together that has a lot of great things within it that everybody in this board has asked for and everybody in the community has asked for. When you come down to it, being a working document, I just hope that there's some things that can be moved around and shift around that will impact others in their tax bills right now, as we see them climbing and we see everything in society climbing from, as we heard Congresswoman Trahan talk about electricity, and we talk about water and sewer rates that are going to go up, and we're seeing all these things that are going to go up. I just don't know how a lot of people are going to survive unless we cut costs some way. And I think that should have been, and I think maybe it is, the first priority. Thank you.
Councilor Nguyen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Managers, and your team for laying this out. This is a working document, as you said. It certainly is convey to the people who attend the public listening session, as well as those who, respond online and whatnot, that the administrations and the council listens to them. I'm glad to see that you spent quite a bit of money on water and sewer. I wish we can do more. Same thing with the fire apparatus. That paramount. We need to have them, and they not only put their life on hold, but also the life of those that they respond to as well, if the things doesn't work. I'm glad that you also look at the social impact program as well as nonprofit support. And the nonprofit support that I like is that you look also at the small nonprofit, the startup nonprofit like Latinx community, nonprofit like African Community Center. Those are funding that's coming in less than $500,000 income. And those are the people who do also need help, need growth, because they too provide service to their segment of the community. I'm glad you're doing that, looking at that. My question is with regard to social impact program. There is a section to the far right. It said public-private partnership. What does the X indicate? The X is that the when you area where you would accept the RFP from those particular organizations.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the council. Yes, that is correct. We're anticipating, just take the top one, if you would, Council of Mass Hire and External Partners, addressing equity in Lowell's education training programs for underserved populations to the tune of $2 million. We would be looking to reaching out with Mass Hire, who is obviously part of the city, but we would be looking out to, tractor trailer or any type of schooling or assistance that we could help residents here in the city of Lowell, to those individuals who are underemployed. Is there an opportunity for us to partner with, I don't want to give out any names that we've been talking about, but any type of professional organization that would typically work with Mass Hire, where we could take residents here in the city and try to assist additionally with what Mass Hire does. They do a great job, but work in the private sector to help them get better opportunities and get better jobs. And that's that private-public partnership that we're calling Mass Hire. Obviously, the public side, and the private partner could be an HVAC company or whatever the case may be.
Thank you. Council, the Representative Trahan was here talking about the anticipated increase in heating and fuels in the cities, and talking about food on the table or heating their home. Under the social impact program, there's an indication here, the scope of service is a weatherization, fuel-efficient system. So that $1 million for that, is that resident or seniors? They can apply, and how do they do that?
We've been talking with Ms. Moses over in DPD, and We have plenty of programs that we think we want to put forward, but we want to make sure we have that commitment from Mass Save as well. If Mass Save can come into the city of Lowell, which we've been trying to work with them on a more regular basis, to go down that particular rabbit hole, if you would, Councillor, the people of the city of Lowell are not receiving the benefit to what they should be receiving as to what they put into the Mass Save program. So we have, we've been asking some very pointed questions to try to see if we can get Mass Save here, but we're really trying to signal to them that we're willing, able to, to put some money where this is, where Mass Save and the money that we have could maybe double down or triple down on people saving what I'd say is the first fuel by not turning the heat on at all because of insulation and things of that nature. We're fortunate here in the city of Lowell that we do have, currently we shouldn't be experiencing a major increase due to the fact that the council in its wisdom over the years has secured, I believe it's a 3-year contract with our heating and electricity. But this is signaling that we need, we have older stock, and we want Mass Save to come in along with National Grid to, and I say double down, but I'd really like to think about it tripling down on low and median income households.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. This one last comment, Mr. Mayor. I think this is all great social impact program and the nonprofit support and all that. When you start to roll this out, I would urge that you reach out to all these partners that we have in the city, so that maybe bring them into the tables and have the discussion as to what do you expect from them and how the application process will start and so on and so forth. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, through you to the councilors, and once again, that would be our intention. We'll be bringing in, let's just use a segment, the nonprofit segment, would bring them in, have this discussion over in the mayor's reception room, if that's okay with you, Mr. Mayor.
Absolutely.
And have these discussions as to what we're looking to do as far as moving forward.
One last comment, Mr. Mayor, if I may, sorry. I would just urge you to keep open-minded on the sewer and water allocation to that, as well as the fire apparatus. Thank you.
Great. In the interest of time, Councillor Yam, Councillor Scott, you still want to make a comment?
Just a quick question
Councillor
to Mr. Manager. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Manager. I know broadband infrastructure is one of the eligible expenditure, and then I'm looking at the social impact, and I don't see any indication which that program is. So if you could maybe clarify it or point it out. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager.
Yeah, Mr. Manager.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the council. In June, the federal government did pass a bill, the Affordable Connectivity Program. We believe this is going to continue to come through. That's something that we would spend additional monies on. Right now, I believe we only have, well, I know we only have Comcast at this time, but there is a segment that we can afford. There's an affordability factor of $30. There is still a thought to spend some of the monies, maybe in the district-wide improvements, if the councils want to consider, to what I would refer to as light up the parks, where there'd be free Wi-Fi in those areas. So that's one of the opportunities we're thinking about, possibly. But we want to make sure that it is something that is sustainable, that is going to happen year in and year out for the remainder. We do have some meetings coming up with the broadband world, and to see what else we can do. But currently, right now, it is my hope that, as well as what Congresswoman Trahan had stated, there are some additional monies coming in through for infrastructure. So I got my fingers crossed on that, but I'm also looking towards, hopefully, like I said, lighting up parks where there's free internet and Wi-Fi in public spaces. There would be money available in here for that, if the council thought it was something that they wanted to look at.
I understand. Thank you, Mr. Manager. I understand that the additional funding will be coming. However, I would like to see some portion of this ARPA fund, dedicated for that because as you may have heard, many people say that the utility bills is going to go up, electricity, gas is going to go up. Now the low-income family now have to decide, broadband, internet for the kids to study, or food on the table, or heat the house. So if we can, maybe set aside some of that money to help, with the broadband internet, that will be helpful. Additional funding coming to support that continue further, that will be even better. But for now, I would like to see that to help some low-income family. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manchin.
Thank you, Councillor Rook and Councillor Leahy, for giving up your time to have Councillor Scott and Councillor Jeanette speak again. Councillor Scott.
I'm actually all set, Mr. Mayor. My question was around broadband and internet, so thank you.
Okay. Councillor Jeanette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the indulgence of the second time through here. Just a quick question on this document again. Will this be made available in languages other than English? I think that would be a worthwhile use of time. And then I just want to back up my colleague, Councilor Gitcher, here on the Powers and Sullivan question. I don't want to disparage their work. I think they do good work. They've done a lot of good service for this city and other municipalities. But these questions are national questions. And I expect that there'll be larger, bigger firms who become experts on ARPA funding if they haven't already. And so I think it may be worth looking for a second opinion from a larger, more national firm for some of these things before we dive too deep. So I just wanted to mention that, and I think that's a worthwhile ask. Just a quick question for folks. So thank you.
No other comments. Quickly, just want to thank the manager and administration for putting together this excellent report. It's very, very inclusive. It touches all facets of Lowellians from work, live, and play. So I appreciate the report and looking forward to the success. No other comments on the reports. Need a motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Drinkwater, seconded by Councilor Gitcher. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. We now go to votes from the city manager. Need a motion to bundle 5.1, 5.2, 5.3 by Councilor Yam, second by Councilor Nguyen. I'm going to just read them real quick. 5.1, vote accept donation of $5,000 from DCU. 5.2, vote accept expend $429,000. 979 fiscal year 22 body worn camera policy and implementation program grant. 5.3, vote authorize city manager execute temporary access agreement with Broadway Street Holdings Incorporated. 5.4, actually, it's the bundle 5.1 through 5.4. Vote authorize city manager proceed under MGL 30B, Central Stars Corporation, 5 years. Any comments or questions by the councilors? Here now need a motion to adopt. Do you have a question, Councilor Yam?
A quick comment, just a quick one. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to manager, 5.3, I didn't realize that the city owned that property at the corner of Broadway and Mount Vernon, and I mentioned to Mr. Mercado that the overgrown, and if the city can really clean up, because that's really eyesore, and so that's just my quick comment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. The motion to adopt by Councilor Scott, second by Councilor Rook. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilor Scott.
Yes.
Councilor Yam.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
Councilor Drinkwater.
Yes.
Councilor Gitcher.
Yes.
Councilor Jeunesse.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Mercier.
Yes.
Councilor Noon.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
11 years.
Now go to 6, order from city manager. 6.1, order 60-day trial. Waive full reading, the second reading by title. City of Law and City Council order pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 266-6 thereof entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period up to 60 days. I need a motion to adopt by Councilor Leahy, second by Councilor Drinkwater. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Yam.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
Council Drinkwater.
Yes.
Council Getchia.
Yes.
Council Janice.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Council Robbins.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
11 yeas.
7, ordinance from city manager. 7.1, ordinance create position, cross-connection backflow administrator. Need a motion to refer to public hearing on October 18, 2022 at 7 p.m. by Councilor Gishia, second by Councilor Mercier. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it, motion's carry. We go to the resolutions. 8.1 on the Hispanic Heritage Month. We already taken that up already. We now go to 8.2. Resolution International Overdose Awareness Day. Waive full reading and second reading by title. Mr. Clerk. City of Lowell and City Council resolution. The City Council of the City of Lowell wishes to go on record to declare August 31st in the City of Lowell to be International Overdose Awareness Day. Need a motion to adopt by Councilor Nguyen, second by Councilor Rourke. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Council Scott.
Yes.
Council Yam.
Yes.
Mayor Chow.
Yes.
Council Drinkwater.
Yes.
Council Getchia.
Yes.
Council Janice.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Council Robinson.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
11 yeas.
9, reports of subcommittee. The Auditor Clerk Oversight and Personnel Subcommittee, October 4th, 2022. Any report, Councilor Gishia?
I'll report next week.
Thank you, Councilor. We'll table this for next week. We'll take a vote to accept the report progress then. We now go to 10 petitions. 10.1, claims to property damage. Motion to refer to Law Department for report and recommendation by Councilor Janice, second by Councilor Robinson. On favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it, motion's carried. 10.2, miscellaneous. Bonnie White House requests installation of handicap parking sign at 64 Lily Avenue. Need a motion to refer to traffic engineer for report and recommendation by Councilor Nguyen, second by Councilor Scott. On favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it, motion's carried. 10.3, miscellaneous. Ruben Sabalos requests installation of a handicap parking sign at 63 Mount Vernon Street, Apartment 1. Motion to refer to engineer for report and
Mayor?
recommendation by. Do you have a comment?
I do, just one quick comment. Could we request that this be put up for 60-day trial to get this person back their sign right away until it goes to the next, because they did have one, and they took it down because of a neighborhood thing. Can we have that put back up until for a 60-day trial, please?
Want to put that up? Mr. Manager, what would your recommendation on that? Is that be okay? Go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
What was what's the question?
The 60-day, what's the applicant for Mr. Clerk's record?
Sorry, a 60-day trial to get the person to sign back right away, and then they can go through whatever they have to go through.
Still have to vote on it.
Okay, we still have to vote on that?
Yeah, it still has to come down as a 60-day order, so refer it to the Law Department.
Yes. Refer it to the Law Department, please.
For the Law Department by Gishia, second by Councilor Mercier. And are we now at, I just lost track of it, we're at 10.3 now, Mr. Clerk?
10.4.
10.4. All right, 10.4. Did we take a vote on 10.3 already?
Wasn't that the one just referred?
Just refer that one. Okay, I see. Great. 10.4, miscellaneous. Mohammed Usman Yusuf requests removal of a handicap parking sign at 86 3rd Street. Motion to refer to traffic engineer for report and recommendation by Councilor Yam, second by Councilor Scott. On favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion's carry. 10.5, National Grid Verizon New England requests installation of one geopole on 135-155 Chelmsford Street. Give first reading. Motion to refer to public hearing on October 18, 2022 by Councilor Drinkwater, second by Councilor Janice. On favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion's carry. 10.6, National Grid requests installation of underground electric conduit at 135-155 Chelmsford Street. Need a motion to refer to public hearing on October 18, 2022 at 7 p.m. by Councilor Robinson, second by Councilor Mercier. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. We now go to the City Council motion. We have 12 minutes. Let's see if we can get this done by 10 o'clock. 11.1, Councilor Gishio requests City Manager have proper department look at traffic measures at Low Catholic on Stevens Street during pick-up and drop-off times. Second by Councilor Nguyen.
Motion
Councilor
speaks for
Gishio.
itself.
Thank you, Councilor. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. 11.2, Councilor Gishio requests City Manager update the City Council on current utility rates, agreement terms, and cost saving measures going forward. Second by Councilor Janess. Councilor
Motion
Gishio.
speaks for itself.
Excellent. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. We already taken up motion 11.3. We now go to 11.4. Councilor Robinson requests City Manager have proper department put council rules on city website so they are accessible to the public. Second by Councilor Nguyen. Councilor Robinson.
Motion speaks for itself.
On a great path here. All in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Councilor Robinson requests City Manager begin conversations around a possible partnership with Low Catholic with focus on improvements to fields they are utilizing for athletics. Second by Councilor Gishia. Councilor Robinson.
Thank you. Yeah, with this one, if we could just get a report back on any progress and keep the discussion going. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. We already taken up 11.6. We now go to 11.7. Councilor Rourke requests City Manager have the Law Department review rules and regulations pertaining to use of state forests and open space in our neighboring communities for the purpose of drafting and adopting similar regulations with respect to the city's open and recreational spaces. Second by Councilor Scott. Any comment, Councilor?
All set.
Thank you. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Last motion of the night, Councilor Janess request City Manager have proper department improve availability of information on the city's website regarding public participation in meeting, such as registering to speak on a topic. Second by Councilor Drinkwater. Councilor Janess.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Much like the rules motion earlier, this is just stuff that should be there so people know how to get in touch with us and, come to these meetings, our meetings and other meetings, whether they're land use boards or everything else. It'd be nice if that information was easily accessible so people know what to do. And it would be especially nice if this information was available in languages beyond English as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other comments? All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. Since it be the 10 o'clock, I do have one quick comment. We do have a few minutes. As you've seen, many of the councilors wear pink today, whether pink tie, pink shirt, or just thinking pink. We are doing this in support of the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Thank you, Councilor Scott, for putting all of us on the right path to dress better today, dress in pink.
We'll do
Thank you,
better
Councilor.
next week. We'll all remember our pink.
Need a motion adjourned by Councilor Yam, second by Councilor Mercier. All in favor say aye, opposed say no. The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Meeting is adjourned.